Chapter 503. The ingenuity of the formation was also that if one used spiritual awareness to explore from the bottom up, nothing could be found. Even if it was a master of the Deshang stage, it was impossible to find it. In this way, if someone wanted to stand on the ground and use spiritual awareness to find the abnormality in the sky, it was simply impossible. This was one of the reasons why this secret plane could survive for thousands of years. Several formations that made water vapor, that was a camouflage, to cover the real entrance to the riddle and to point the way. Exploring from top to bottom, Yang Chen's powerful spiritual awareness quickly found the entrance. According to the method on the wooden sign, Yang Chen made a few symbols at the wooden sign. The simple wooden sign suddenly flashed, and then Yang Chen and Sun Qingxue appeared in a large open space. The open space was not big, it was a few thousand acres, which was the same as the area of the dozen or so mountains. In the middle of the open space, a palace stood alone. The surroundings were empty, except for the stones and sand, there was nothing. As soon as he entered a strange place, Yang Chen didn't think about it and directly took out the bright ray sword. After a few months, Shao Tian still hasn't consumed the dragon qi, but it has been attached to the bright ray sword. Yang Chen held the bright ray sword and felt at ease. After a few months of combat experience, Sun Qingxue has also accumulated some combat experience. She also summoned her body protection magic weapon and flying sword and stood by. The two haven't had time to figure out the situation around them, and Yang Chen had already felt a killing intent. Not far from the left side, a long gray blade slammed down from the top of his head. Yang Chen's right hand was raised and the bright ray sword had been lifted to meet the long blade. Chi, with a soft sound, the bright ray sword and the long blade intersected, making a slight sound. Then, the long blade was cut into two pieces without any accident, and a green juice sprayed out from the mouth of the long blade. "Be careful, big brother Yang!" Sun Qingxue behind him suddenly made a loud shout and her figure rushed forward. She was originally behind Yang Chen, but now she came to the right side of Yang Chen. Yang Chen's spiritual awareness has also discovered the situation over there, but there were three gray long blades slashing toward Yang Chen. Originally, Yang Chen had to face the long blade, but at this moment, it became Sun Qingxue. Dang dang dang, three loud noises, the three long blades first swung away Sun Qingxue's flying sword, and then the remaining power did not reduce and cut on Sun Qingxue's body protection armor. Everything happened in the blink of an eye, and Yang Chen didn't even have time to make more reactions, it had already happened. Sun Qingxue's flying sword was directly blown away, and the body armor on her body blocked three heavy blows in a row, and a crack appeared in an instant. Fortunately, because of the body protection armor, Sun Qingxue was not injured. Sun Qingxue, who suffered a heavy blow, directly leaned on Yang Chen's body, and Yang Chen also took out the secret key in an instant. A secret technique was released, and the two people instantly left the secret plane and appeared in the original air. "Where are you hurt? Where are you hurt?" Yang Chen was almost scared to death. The four long blades that just appeared, each of them had the level of the Yuanying stage. Sun Qingxue was only in the strength of the foundation stage. How could she resist it? "I'm fine, big brother Yang." Sun Qingxue was also in shock. At that time, when she saw three long blades cut to Yang Chen, Sun Qingxue rushed up without thinking about it and blocked in front of Yang Chen. She did not think about whether she could block it or not. Even she herself estimated that she did not know why she would do such a move. Perhaps in the heart of Sun Qingxue, Yang Chen was the most important person. Yang Chen has already explored it with his spiritual awareness and looked around with his naked eyes. Sun Qingxue did not have any scars on her body, and he was relieved. Fortunately, this protective armor was one of the magic weapons that Elder Hua gave to Sun Qingxue before she left. The armor that had been refined by a master of the Deshang stage was indeed extraordinary. Even if Sun Qingxue was only in the foundation stage, she was still unscathed after blocking 3 attacks from the Yuanying stage. The only pity was that this armor had sacrificed a lot of protective power in order to allow Sun Qingxue to use it. After blocking these 3 attacks, it had been broken and there was no more protective function. Dare to hurt you, little Shui, you wait, I will avenge you. After recovering from the fear that Sun Qingxue was almost seriously injured, Yang Chen's first reaction was anger. Yang Chen was very grateful that Sun Qingxue actually sacrificed herself in front of him at that time and blocked the attack for him. Because of this, Yang Chen also wanted to kill the culprits who almost hurt Sun Qingxue. The long gray blade, Yang Chen saw clearly that it was the forearms of several huge gray praying mantis. These insects were estimated to be the guardian beasts of the secret plane. It was not known how many years they have lived in the secret plane. Anyway, these attacks already had the cultivation base of the Yuanying stage. It was just that they were now sealed in this secret plane and could not come out. The guardian beasts of the secret plane were to kill the strangers who broke in. Yang Chen and Sun Qingxue were strangers, there was no doubt about this, so as soon as the two entered, they were immediately attacked. After shouting, Yang Chen's figure disappeared directly, leaving Sun Qingxue outside the secret plane. Sun Qingxue was shocked, but she didn't have the key, so she couldn't get in. She could only watch Yang Chen enter the secret plane, but there was no way, and she waited anxiously outside. Die! After rushing into the secret plane, Yang Chen did not hesitate and directly slashed at the praying mantis, whose arm had been cut off by the bright ray sword. Hey, there was another sound, this time it was not the forearm that was cut off, but a leg. But the life of the praying mantis was so strong that it didn't care at all. The huge forearm in the air was waved high and slashed toward Yang Chen. The other few were not willing to lag behind, and the insects did not have any idea of bullying, they only knew to destroy the strangers who broke in. A few gray shadows flashed quickly, and the speed of the praying mantis's forearm was terrifying. The eyes couldn't even catch the trajectory of the waving, and it had already slashed on Yang Chen's body. Dang dang, after a series of sounds, accompanied by a low and long buzzing sound, in the secret plane, except for Yang Chen, there was no standing creature. The attack of several guardian beasts caused the golden bell to ring. The consequence of the golden bell was that, except for the master, Yang Chen, all the creatures were shocked to the ground and could not get up for a long time. How could Yang Chen let go of such an opportunity? His figure flashed and quickly appeared in front of several huge praying mantis. The bright ray sword was raised high and fell heavily. 5 triangular gray heads were instantly cut off by Yang Chen. Green blood was sprayed everywhere, and at least half of the large open space was dyed with deep and light green. Chapter 504. There was nothing else for the time being, but Yang Chen was still not at ease. He first turned around and carefully explored it with his spiritual awareness. After determining that there was no guardian beast inside, he went out of the secret plane. Sun Qingxue had been waiting anxiously for a long time. Yang Chen's cultivation base was not much stronger than hers. The few attacks just now had let her know the level of those guardian beasts. Almost all of them were in the Yuanying stage. Yang Chen rushed in alone, it was a disaster. At the thought of Yang Chen rushing in revenge because she was almost cut, Sun Qingxue felt sweet in her heart. However, the huge gap between the two sides made Sun Qingxue anxious and almost vomit blood. Now she couldn't get into the secret plane, she could only keep praying that Yang Chen would not have an accident. When Yang Chen's figure suddenly appeared, Sun Qingxue could no longer hold back her emotions. She directly threw herself into Yang Chen's arms and burst into tears. It was only a dozen breaths, but Sun Qingxue felt as if it had been more than 10 years. Yang Chen had never encountered such a situation. For a while, he also panicked. His hands were placed on both sides of his body, almost as if he was frozen, and he did not dare to move. He let Sun Qingxue hold his neck and cry in his arms, but he did not know what to do. Sun Qingshua's body was very soft and warm. Maybe this crying let her completely release all the pressure, and she cried for a long time. Slowly, Yang Chen's body was not so stiff, and his hands also responded. He raised them in the air and hesitated. He did not know if he should coax Sun Qingxue. Finally, he gently put his hand on the back of Sun Qingxue and gently patted a few times. "Okay, little Shui, aren't I all right?" Yang Chen said softly. With Yang Chen's soft authority, Sun Qingxue finally stopped crying. Her hand slowly released from Yang Chen's neck and began to wipe her tears. When Sun Qingxue completely stopped crying, she suddenly realized what she had just done. Her pretty face was red, and she hurriedly lowered her head, and did not dare to raise it again. This shock was what Yang Chen did not expect before. Yang Chen did calculate the guardian beast, but he did not expect that as soon as he entered, he would be attacked by the guardian beast. In his previous life, Yang Chen had never entered the secret pavilion, not even the secret pavilion of Chunyang Palace. He only knew that there were good things in it and there were guardian beasts. However, he still felt that the guardian beast must verify the identity of the intruder before attacking. Yang Chen had the key to the secret plane in his hand. He should be the owner of the secret plane. Even if the guardian beast did not recognize it, at least there was time to prepare. Who knew that he would be attacked without saying anything? This was Yang Chen's calculation error, and it almost led to a major accident. If it weren't for Sun Qingshue's protective armor given by Elder Hua Wanting, maybe Sun Qingxue would be in danger. Otherwise, why would Yang Chen have a burst of fear? He couldn't predict how serious the consequences would be if Sun Qingxue had an accident. Not to mention the wrath of Elder Hua, once it affected the cooperation between Blue Cloud Sect and Chunyang Palace, it was simply not redeemable. In addition to calling it lucky, Yang Chen didn't know how to describe the situation just now. He said that he was just comforting Sun Qingxue, but didn't Yang Chen say those words to himself? It seemed that even if there was a big killing weapon like the memory of the previous life, sometimes he had to be careful, otherwise it would be an irreversible situation. This was the most direct lesson that Yang Chen learned from it. It should be all right now, let's go in and see. After the two calmed down for a while, Yang Chen once again sent an invitation to Sun Qingxue. Of course, Sun Qingxue had no objection, but she still carefully changed to a protective magic weapon, and then signaled Yang Chen to open the secret plane. Yang Chen had no opinion about this. There was nothing wrong with being careful. Although Yang Chen had explored it once, who knew if there was a fish that had escaped the net, Yang Chen did not dare to make a guarantee. As soon as she entered the secret plane, Sun Qingxue saw the 5 huge praying mantises. The body color of these praying mantises was almost exactly the same as the surrounding environment. At first, she didn't find it at all. Now the green blood flowed all over the ground, and naturally, the outline could be clearly seen. How is this possible? Looking at everything in front of her, Sun Qingxue directly covered her mouth in horror. Just now, there were only 2 or 3 praying mantises, and they broke the armor that Hua Wanting prepared for Sun Qingxue. The strength of these praying mantises could be seen. Even with Sun Qingxue's experience, she could judge that the cultivation of these praying mantises was at least at the level of the Yuanying stage. But Yang Chen, from the anger of shouting revenge to coming in and going out, it was only a dozen breath. 5 such powerful Yuanying stage praying mantis beasts were turned into corpses, and they were all decapitated. But Yang Chen was only in the late foundation stage. At best, it was a little higher than Sun Qingxue, and it was not much higher. How could he behead 5 Yuanying stage beasts in this short period of a dozen breaths? Sun Qingxue couldn't help but be shocked. Even if Hua Wanting came here, she would not necessarily be as happy as Yang Chen. They could definitely be killed, but it was impossible to be as clean as Yang Chen. Sun Qingxue's shock was that she discovered the huge gap between herself and Yang Chen. Things that seemed impossible to her were so simple in the hands of Yang Chen. Maybe now everyone is in the foundation stage, and the gap is not big, but once everyone's cultivation grows, the gap becomes bigger and bigger. Sun Qingxue doesn't know if she will be embarrassed to see Yang Chen again. There was never a moment when Sun Qingxue was so eager to have more power and broader knowledge. Maybe only in this way can she keep up with the footsteps of Yang Chen and not be left too much by Yang Chen. Yang Chen certainly didn't know that his revenge and anger would make Sun Qingxue have such a thought. He was still thinking about what good things would be in the palace in the center of the secret plane. These corpses, you have 3 and I have 2, divide them. The body of the Yuanying stage monster beast, that was a good thing. It was possible to use it for alchemy refining, it could not be casually wasted. Sun Qingxue doesn't seem to refuse Yang Chen what Yang Chen said. She obediently put away the bodies of the 3 praying mantis. Until now, her heart was still full of doubts. She didn't know how Yang Chen did it. The 2 carefully walked to the door of the palace. There was no accident on this trip, it was calm. Guess what good things will be inside? When Yang Chen released his spiritual awareness to explore the interior of the palace, he also smiled and chatted with Sun Qingxue. As long as there are no more accidents. Sun Qingxue glanced at Yang Chen and suddenly whispered. Chapter 505. In the secret plane, there seemed to be only 5 big praying mantises as guardian beasts, and there were no other living creatures. Even after the 2 of them entered the palace, there was still no movement. Sun Qingxue seemed to be a little afraid of what had just happened. Even after entering the palace, she still carefully opened the protective magic weapon and did not dare to have the slightest carelessness. Yang Chen was the same, but it was much better than Sun Qingxue. After all, the golden bell would appear as long as it moved, and it would actively absorb the attack, which made Yang Chen have a lot more to rely on. The palace was very large, and there seemed to be an underground spiritual vein here, causing the spiritual power in the secret plane to be much higher than outside. It was for this reason that those big praying mantises could live to the present. However, what was strange was that this sect had been destroyed for at least 10,000 years, and those big praying mantises had lived for tens of thousands of years, but they were still in the Yuanying stage, which was a bit confusing. Since they couldn't be promoted to the Deshang stage, it was obviously abnormal that they still had such a long life. But now was not the time to pursue these reasons. They had already entered the hall, and it would be unreasonable to not plunder it. The entrance to the palace was a hall with several doors around it. In the hall it was empty, except for a well. A thick spiritual power overflowed from the well, which was clearly the exit of a spiritual vein. However, there was no dust-proof formation arranged here. There was dust everywhere, and when one stepped on it, it was a few inches thick. There were no labels on the several gates. It seemed that they could only go in one by one. Yang Chen scanned with his spiritual awareness and motioned to Sun Qingxue to put away the flying sword. At the level of the foundation stage, it was indeed a bit tiring to use a defensive magic weapon and a flying sword at the same time. This time, it was Yang Chen who wanted to hone Sun Qingxue, and naturally, Sun Qingxue's choice was the main one. Sun Qingxue happily opened the first door on the right, and Yang Chen walked in first, blocking Sun Qingxue behind his body. This room looked like a study. The surrounding wall was lined with bookshelves. However, there were only a few hundred jade scrolls covered in dust on the bookshelf. There was nothing else. There used to be a painting hanging on the wall, but now it was empty. There was only a broken scroll, which was so rotten that it was unrecognizable. Sun Qingxue curiously walked to the side of the bookshelf and reached out to pick up a jade slip. As soon as his hand touched the bookshelf, it turned into a pile of dust. It disappeared with a loud rumble. Fortunately, Sun Qingxue had been using her protective magical equipment and retreated in time, so she was not surrounded by the rising smoke and dust. Fortunately, there was nothing wrong with the jade slip. Sun Qingxue had no choice but to explore the contents of the jade slip with her spiritual awareness. However, she found that she could not understand what was recorded in it. The curved text was the same as the one on the secret key. After thinking about it, Sun Qingxue handed the jade slip to Yang Chen. When Yang Chen was investigating, she went directly forward and collected all the jade slips scattered in the bookshelf powder and sent them to Yang Chen. These are the inheritance of this sex cultivation method. Yang Chen read a few and shook his head. The ancient cultivation method, there are many fallacies in it, there is no reference value. Just like in the Blue Dome Immortal's cave, these cultivation methods are somewhat outdated and can no longer be compared with the current cultivation system. Even the reference value was not available. Anyway, I have no use for it, or Big Brother Yang, you put it away. Sun Qingxue knew that she did not know these and gave them all to Yang Chen. To talk about cultivation methods, in the scripture pavilion of the Blue Cloud sect, there were hundreds of thousands of cultivation methods. Where would there be a need to refer to the cultivation methods of 10,000 years ago? Yang Chen also didn't care and put it away. These things were only valuable as antique. If someone wanted to sort out the changes of the cultivation method, these were valuable information, but if they wanted to cultivate, it was purely looking for trouble. The two looked at the room for a while and found nothing worth taking away, then they turned back to the hall and continued to enter the second door. As soon as they entered the door, they were greeted by a rusty giant cauldron with a height of 2 people. There was almost no need to ask, this must be a pill room. On the other side of the wall, there was a small stone compartment, which should be filled with things, but these things were covered with dust, and they couldn't see what it was for a while. Big Brother Yang, you are familiar with alchemy, you should come and see. Sun Qingxue looked at this scene and directly pushed Yang Chen to the front. Yang Chen was not polite. When it came to alchemy, no one in the mortal world was more knowledgeable than him, and he walked to the front. Walking to the side of the giant cauldron, he reached out, and Yang Chen touched the body of the cauldron. His spiritual awareness explored it, and soon there was a result. He said to Sun Qingxue, "This alchemy furnace, the level is average, but the materials are not bad, you can put it away." Yang Chen could say that the materials were not bad, then the materials must be good. Sun Qingxue stepped forward and put the giant cauldron into the Qiankuan bag. Then she watched Yang Chen walk to the front of the stone compartments over there, and reached out one by one to check. Most of these compartments were buried in dust, and most of them were medicinal materials. However, after tens of thousands of years here, they had already turned into powder, and with the dust, they couldn't be distinguished at all. After searching several compartments in a row, it was the same. After 10,000 years, even the rarest spiritual medicine had turned into dust. But there was nothing worth taking in the room except for the big cauldron. The third door looked bigger than the other doors, and it seemed that it should lead to the master's room. However, as soon as Yang Chen went in, he saw a pair of big eyes staring at him, almost in front of him. Yang Chen was shocked. The bright ray sword was quickly held in his hand, and Sun Qingxue was blocked outside with one hand. Just as he was about to make a move, he found that the other party was actually motionless. When he took a closer look, he found that it was just the body of a big praying mantis. Exploring with his spiritual awareness, Yang Chen soon found that there were more than 20 bodies of big praying mantis in this room. This was the only dust-free room here. More than 20 big praying mantis lined up, almost all in the same posture. With the support of its 6 legs, its huge body stood steadily like a stone statue. Oh my God! Sun Qingxue also came in, and when she saw this scene, she couldn't help but exclaim. Yang Chen now knew why there were 5 Yuanying stage praying mantis outside. It must be that the original guardian beast gave birth to the little praying mantis when it felt that its life was coming to an end. Then the little praying mantis grew up generation by generation and grew to the Yuanying stage. No wonder Yang Chen was attacked as soon as he came in. It turned out that these praying mantis didn't know the rules at all. Chapter 506. These more than 20 praying mantis corpses, in Yang Chen's view, were the remains of the peak Yuanying stage. In this closed secret plane, they could not be promoted to the Deshang stage at all, and their lifespan was naturally not so long. It was certain that these corpses left behind were all female praying mantises. Yang Chen knew a little about the habits of praying mantises. It seemed that after mating, the female praying mantis would eat the male praying mantis to ensure the nutrition of the next generation. What made Yang Chen feel strange was that these female praying mantises did not advance because they ate the same peak Yuanying stage male praying mantis. Or was it because they ate the male praying mantis, so they had the cultivation base of the peak Yuanying stage? In short, this was already a mystery that could not be solved. Half of it you choose first. Yang Chen waved his hand and once again started the bandit business with Sun Qingxue. How precious the body of a Yuanying stage monster was, even if it was Sun Qingxue, a little fellow who didn't know much, she was very clear. Sun Qingxue did not think like Shi Shanshan. Yang Chen asked her to take it. She was not polite to Yang Chen and directly started. After counting left and right, she took the 12 on the right and left the remaining 13 to Yang Chen. "Why don't you take one more?" Yang Chen asked strangely. "I have just taken one more." Sun Qingxue did not hide her thoughts in front of Yang Chen and said directly, "This is just the same for us. Don't give it to others easily when you go back, take it to Elder Hua and let her deal with it." Yang Chen nodded and did not say anything more on this issue. He just told Sun Qingxue that she had no experience and would be cheated. If you can refine puppets, you will have a few more Yuanying stage puppets to protect your body. The body of an original infant stage beast, not to mention the fact that the body itself was a treasure, just the beast core itself was priceless. Even if the two of them came in empty-handed, the 15 praying mantis corpses each was already a bountiful harvest. Such a complete corpse of a demonic beast with the same cultivation level was the best material to refine a puppet. If an expert took action, it could even maintain the cultivation level of the puppet before it died. In this regard, Yang Chen did not overstep his boundaries. Would the Blue Cloud sect be afraid of not having a few cultivation techniques for refining puppets? The only regret was that Yang Chen had beheaded the 5 that were still alive in his rage. With this huge harvest, the rest would be for naught. After the two of them finished dividing the loot excitedly, they casually turned to the next door. This room was a place for refining weapons, and the surroundings were filled with materials for refining weapons. Presumably, the entire sect's savings were all here, almost filling up the entire room. Yang Chen and Sun Qingxue had to dig out the materials bit by bit under a thick pile of dust, so that Yang Chen could identify them. There were a lot of good things, but unfortunately, except for the materials of the metal and earth attributes, the other wood and water attributes had decayed and evaporated, and there were not many left. The two of them didn't care. No matter how small the mosquito was, it was still meat. There were things to take, and the materials were very good. Sun Qingxue was very happy. The Blue Cloud sect had a lot of rules, and Sun Qingxue had never gone out to gain experience. Although she had a master in the Deshang stage, her family was not rich. With these things, Sun Qingxue also had the posture of a little rich woman, and she was proud of herself. There was only one last door left, and Sun Qingxue's interest did not diminish. She directly pushed the door and was about to rush in. Suddenly, a fire rushed out of the door. If it weren't for Yang Chen's quick reaction, Sun Qingxue would have almost hit the flame. "What is this?" Sun Qingxue was also shocked. She turned her head, but found that Yang Chen actually looked at the flame that had been retracted and smiled, and couldn't help but ask curiously, "Pure flame, true fire?" The smile in Yang Chen's eyes was not hidden at all. Looking at the tumbling flame, Yang Chen almost laughed out loud. "Fifth grade fire seed?" Sun Qingxue's eyes also lit up. Yang Chen used 800 pounds of jade dragon wine to exchange for the whereabouts of the two kinds of fire seeds of the wine Immortal, the Netherworld fire and the Earth Fiend fire, which were only 5th grade fire seeds. There was actually a 5th grade fire in front of him. Wasn't this Yang Chen's luck? Knowing that this was the fire seed Yang Chen needed, Sun Qingxue couldn't help but be happy for Yang Chen. In this room, it seemed that there was only such a flame, and it seemed that it belonged to Yang Chen. However, Yang Chen's happiness was far more than just finding a 5th grade fire. Although the pure flame true fire could be comparable to the true sun fire, there was one thing that the true sun fire could not reach. The pure flame true fire was usually accompanied by the 3rd fire true essence. This was a strange relationship. Although the pure flame true fire was not the highest level of fire seed, it could be accompanied by the most original 3rd fire true essence. Yang Chen thought that he could find the 3rd fire true essence and complete the great Yin and Yang 5 elements secret art when he got to the spiritual world. He did not expect that in this secret plane that he accidentally discovered there would be such a big thing waiting for him. Now that he thought about it, it was estimated that the pure flame true fire and the 3rd fire true essence should be the real reason why this unlucky sect was destroyed. Unfortunately, the enemy's luck was not good. They dug 3 feet into the ground and did not find what they wanted, but at this time, Yang Chen and Sun Qingxue benefited. Big Brother Yang has a fire spirit root. These are naturally Big Brother Yang's. However, Yang Chen had not yet spoken, and Sun Qingxue had already given things to Yang Chen. Even if the sect needed it, it was not as big as the need of Big Brother Yang. This was the idea of Sun Qingxue. Protect me. At this time, Yang Chen was not polite with Sun Qingxue, and directly ordered. Then he took out the black jade futon and placed it on the well in the hall, and began to collect the pure flame true fire, as well as the 3rd fire true essence flowing on the floor of the room. Sun Qingxue did not say anything. She sacrificed the flying sword and began to wait around. In fact, in this secret plane, they have already searched it once. Except for this room full of flames, there was no one in the other rooms. Where would there be enemies? It was simple to collect the pure flame true fire. After all, Yang Chen did not absorb it now. He just collected it. As long as he found something that could preserve the fire seed, he could preserve the pure flame true fire. The real trouble was to collect the 3rd fire true essence. With Yang Chen's current cultivation base, it was indeed slightly insufficient. Fortunately, there was an underground spiritual vein here, which could provide a steady stream of spiritual power, which made Yang Chen almost able to proceed smoothly. Just refining the talisman to preserve the ice fire true essence, Yang Chen refined it for more than 4 months. When it came to collecting the 3rd fire true essence, it took a long time. This action lasted for 5 years. It was only then that the ice and fire true essence flowing under the fire vein in this room was collected into a jade bottle. Chapter 507. At the moment when he put away the jade bottle containing the 3rd fire true essence, Yang Chen couldn't believe that he had such good luck. In a few years, not only did he collect the 10th water true essence, but he also got the 3rd fire true essence. It was so smooth that it was unbelievable. In the past 5 years, Sun Qingxue has also been cultivating. After a period of fighting, Sun Qingxue seems to have a lot of experience in how to fight with the monsters of the same level. In the process of cultivation, she has also realized many parts that she had not been able to understand before. In just 2 years, it seems that her cultivation base has gone to the next level. Although Sun Qingxue still stayed in the middle stage of the foundation stage, the overall small level has improved by 1 level. Compared with the previous closed-door work in the Blue Cloud sect, it was definitely much better. Sun Qingxue has even made up her mind to enrich her experience through this kind of battle in the future. The collection of the 3rd fire true essence was not as good as the 10th water true essence. With the jade cup, the 10th water true essence would be automatically collected, and the ice-fire true essence Yang Chen could only collect it bit by bit. When Dao Ba was in the peak yuanying stage, it still took 10 years to collect the 7th metal true essence. Yang Chen's previous life was extremely good at controlling the fire. With such experience, with the help of the feng shui line, it still took 5 years to really complete it. Big Brother Yang. Seeing that Yang Chen finally put away the jade bottle, Sun Qingxue knew that Yang Chen must have completed all the collection work. She didn't know why. When Yang Chen completed this, Sun Qingxue was also very happy and cheerfully called Yang Chen. "Did you find anything good?" Yang Chen also looked at Sun Qingxue with a smile. In the past 5 years, Sun Qingxue has continued to search in the palace. At least the entire palace was cleaned by Sun Qingxue, it was spotless, and it was no longer covered with a few inches of dust. No! Sun Qingxue also laughed. With 15 corpses of nascent soul stage praying mantises, it was already a big profit. Sun Qingxue did not expect more benefit. The process of searching was just a way for her to kill time when she was bored. Although there was nothing, Sun Qingxue was still beaming with joy. "Maintain your current state of mind," Yang Chen reminded him with a smile. "Don't be confused by external things at any time." "I know, Big Brother Yang." In front of Yang Chen, Sun Qingxue was absolutely well behaved. If Yang Chen didn't have the memory of his previous life, and knew how powerful the dancing snow fairy was at that time, now seeing the performance of Sun Qingxue, he couldn't believe that this was the same person. Everything here had been plundered clean, and the only thing left was the underground spiritual vein. This thing couldn't be moved away. Yang Chen let Sun Qingxue have a good practice on it, and then after the spiritual power of the pure bottle medicine garden was completely replenished, the two finally set foot on the road to leave. Near the entrance, Yang Chen took the key to the secret plane and reminded Sun Qingxue. Both of them launched the protective magic weapon, then Yang Chen made a secret technique to leave, and instantly the figures of the two appeared in the air outside. People were still in the clouds, and Yang Chen suddenly noticed a trace of hostility. Without thinking about it, Yang Chen called out the shuttle and put himself and Sun Qingxue in it. The shuttle instantly drew an arc and disappeared into the sky. Between the lightning and flint, a huge and unparalleled spiritual awareness swept directly and swept on the escaping shuttle. Brush, a figure suddenly appeared in the sky. It seemed to be surprised, and then suddenly chased in the direction of the escape of the shuttle. When the spiritual awareness swept over, Sun Qingxue was almost like falling into an ice cellar, and her whole body was cold. Just being swept by the aftermath, she had been suppressed by the powerful spiritual awareness, and her whole body could not move, she could not even lift a little finger. Until the shuttle escaped from the scope of the spiritual awareness, Sun Qingxue eased a little from the shock and fear. Still with infinite fear, she asked, "Big Brother Yang, who is that?" "I don't know." Although Yang Chen was not affected by the spiritual awareness, he was also shocked by the cultivation of the other party. "It may be the enemy of the sect that was destroyed in the past. They are waiting here. They want to know the location of the secret plane." This guess was very reasonable. The place was originally a very remote place, and the spiritual power was not enough, but there was actually such a terrifying master, there was no reason at all. The only explanation was that they were waiting to see if anyone came to find the location of the secret plane. "But, the sect has been destroyed 10,000 years ago." Sun Qingxue asked incredulously. It was incredible that the enemy of 10,000 years ago was still guarding it until now. It may not be the group of people in the past, but their descendants. Yang Chen also knew that it was impossible for the guy from 10,000 years ago to live to the present, and guessed. They know that there is something they need here, so they have been guarding it. What is the cultivation of that person just now? Big Brother Yang. Sun Qingxue was frightened this time. She, who had never really faced the extreme pressure of a master, was almost scared to the point of paralysis. If it weren't for Yang Chen, she might have already fallen into the hands of the other party. Desheng's stage. Yang Chen also couldn't believe it. The other party turned out to be a master of the Desheng stage, which made him unexpected. The master of the late Desheng stage. Late Desheng stage? Sun Qingshue's face had already shown a look of disbelief. She thought that the master of the late Desheng stage was actually guarding their two younger generation juniors in the foundation stage. This sounded so incredible that it felt a bit illusory. His cultivation base has reached a bottleneck, and he needs the third fire true essence to break through the bottleneck, and then reach the peak Desheng stage cultivation base, and even ascend. Yang Chen has found a little clue from a little bit of clues. I haven't been able to find the secret plane, so I can't get the third fire true essence. Just after saying this, the shocking spiritual awareness had already swept over again. Sun Qingxue fell into a state of absent-mindedness again, and could no longer speak. Although Sun Qingxue had already endured Shi Yanhe's coercion once, Shi Yanhe was still merciful in the face of her sect's disciple. However, the other party obviously did not have such an idea. Instead, she directly released the most powerful spiritual awareness. If she was not careful, she would be injured by the spiritual awareness. Bang! Without thinking about it, Yang Chen directly shot and knocked Sun Qingxue out. Then the shuttle was almost driven to the limit by Yang Chen, madly fleeing in the direction of the Blue Cloud sect. The unconscious Sun Qingxue would not feel the horror of the other party, nor would she have to bear that kind of terrifying pressure. But Yang Chen had already begun to complain, and the other party had already madly caught up. Chapter 508. After Yang Chen's cultivation base was improved, the speed of the shuttle was much faster than when he was in the early foundation stage. Even if it was Wang Yong, it was impossible to catch up with the speed of the shuttle now. However, the other side's master of the Desheng stage seemed to be only a little slower than the shuttle, and he was unrelenting in catching up. It seemed that he had already predicted that Yang Chen might have gotten the third fire true essence and was chasing after him. Now the direction of Yang Chen's shuttle escape was where the Blue Cloud sect was. The other side was a master of the late Desheng stage. They did not know his identity, but one thing was certain, that the other side would never care about their identity. The only way was to escape to the Blue Cloud sect. Maybe the location of the big sect could make the other side slightly converge. This was also a glimmer of hope for Yang Chen. Otherwise, if they let the other side catch up like this, the other side would never leave Yang Chen and Sun Qingxue alive. Fortunately, the speed of the shuttle was fast enough, at least compared with the speed of the other side's master of the Desheng stage. It was still a bit better, and Yang Chen left first. This opportunity allowed Yang Chen to escape from the other side's hands, and the gap was getting bigger and bigger. The Desheng stage master obviously did not expect that the two juniors in the foundation stage did not care about his terrifying pressure at all, and they were still desperately running. This made the master of the Desheng stage simply angry. When did the two juniors in the foundation stage dare to be so arrogant in front of him? Originally, he found that Yang Chen took away the third fire true essence that he had been dreaming of. Now the other side even dared to escape in front of him. The angry Desheng stage master was simply going to burst his lungs. If he let the two little guys escape, what face did he have to stand in front of his peers? Even if it was just for this face, the master of the Desheng stage had to chase them to the end. What's more, the third fire true essence was a good thing that could make him break through the bottleneck and ascend. Even if there was a sect, he did not care about fighting with those sects. The crazy pressure constantly appeared in the shuttle. Yang Chen in front of the other party's powerful spiritual awareness almost had no place to hide. To his surprise, Sun Qingxue had already fainted, but Yang Chen didn't seem to be affected by him at all. This discovery made the master of the Desheng stage very confused, but this did not prevent him from checking Yang Chen and Sun Qingxue as if he was at home. In front of such an expert, Sun Qingxue's Qiankuan bag was like an unguarded open space, allowing the opponent's divine sense to enter and exit freely. Soon, the master of the Deshang stage concluded that Sun Qingxue did not have the key to open the secret plane, nor did she have the ice and fire true essence. What made the masters of the Deshang stage strange was that Yang Chen only had the key to the secret plane, but there was no third fire true essence. This discovery made the anger of the master of the Deshang stage slightly reduced. As long as Yang Chen did not take away the third fire true essence, there would be a chance. But what he was afraid of now was that Yang Chen would destroy the key to the secret plane in anger, which would not be worth the loss. The sect that was annihilated was a very strange sect. They even invented their own symbolic language to record everything about them. The master of the Deshang stage did not know this kind of rune. Even if he got the key, it was impossible to open the secret plane. With the cultivation base of this master, he could not force the secret plane, but after forcibly opening it, there was only one result, that was the collapse of the space inside, and nothing could be left. This was why he did not dare to risk opening the secret plane. Yang Chen was very surprised that Sun Qingxue could actually get in and out of the secret plane. This discovery made the master very surprised, but before he could take further action, Yang Chen and Sun Qingxue had already entered the secret plane again. In a flash, it had been 5.5 years, and they had not come out once. It was not easy to wait for Yang Chen and Sun Qingxue to appear. Yang Chen actually summoned a shuttle and ran away. The only explanation was that Yang Chen had discovered his intentions. This was also good. The master of the Deshang stage thought that if it was easy to get it, it would not be too much of a meaning. It was this kind of cat and mouse game that the master liked. Yang Chen was just a foundation stage cultivator. How long could he last to control the shuttle alone? The master of the Deshang stage was very confident, and his spiritual awareness kept tracking Yang Chen and the shuttle, far behind. Fortunately, he had gotten a few pieces of the best spirit stone before, Yang Chen thought in his heart, but his hands did not dare to neglect. He was ready to use the best spirit stone at any time, waiting for the consumption of this piece of the best spirit stone. This chase and escape lasted for a whole month. A month's time was enough for Yang Chen to escape enough distance. The gap between the two was further widened. In front of him was the site of the Blue Cloud sect. Yang Chen did not think about it and flew directly to the core site of the Blue Cloud sect. Such a movement immediately alarmed at least 3 masters of the Yuanying stage, who were sitting in the mountain gate. Who dares to break into the Blue Cloud sect? A voice sounded in front of Yang Chen. Several figures appeared directly on the escape route of Yang Chen. Be careful, there are masters chasing after you. Yang Chen certainly would not trap these masters of the Blue Cloud sect and directly notified them. However, the shuttle did not stop at all. When it rushed to the vicinity of the masters, it made a light turn and bypassed the 3 masters of the Yuanying stage, and still rushed to the hall of the Blue Cloud sect. Bold! A master of the Yuanying stage just shouted, and suddenly noticed the spiritual awareness that was chasing after him, and his face changed dramatically. Get out of my way, don't block my way. The master of the Blue Cloud sect who was chasing shouted, and he did not mean to avoid it at all. He was still in the air, and with a wave of his hand, the 3 masters of the Yuanying stage felt that they were pushed aside by a powerful force, and they could not help but dodge to the side. The figure flashed, and the huge and terrifying pressure let the 3 know who had just passed by. After thinking about it, the 3 of them were shocked. A master of the Deshang stage just rushed into the sect like this? Warning! Warning! Inform the sect. No longer caring about any demeanor, a master of the Yuanying stage began to wave his arms and shouted loudly before he landed. The disciples on duty below did not dare to neglect, and hurriedly issued a warning. This time, it was like poking a hornet's nest. Countless figures flew out of the Blue Cloud sect and rushed in this direction. The one in front was a master of the Deshang stage, and also the one who participated in the Battle of the 100,000 Mountains, the Blue Cloud sect's Law Hall Master Shi Yanhe. As soon as she rose into the air, Yang Chen's shuttle had already rushed past, leaving only a lingering sound of Yang Chen. Be careful, the other party is a master of the late Desheng stage. Chapter 509. The master of the late Desheng stage, Shi Yanhe, who was in the air, was taken aback. Although she was in the Desheng stage, she was only in the middle Desheng stage. In the face of a master in the late Desheng stage, she may not be able to catch up. However, the Blue Cloud sect was the Blue Cloud sect. In addition to the masters, there were also various mountain protection formations. Shi Yanhe waved her small hand gently, and in an instant, the entire territory of the Blue Cloud sect rose with a bright light, and Shi Yanhe's figure also disappeared in a large group of fog that had just appeared. Bang! The master of the Desheng stage, who was chasing, directly hit the newly launched mountain protection formation of the Blue Cloud sect, making a loud bang. The mountain protection formation of the Blue Cloud sect, after a flash of light, returned to normal. The master who was chasing had already broken the outermost mountain protection formation and flew directly to this side, regardless of whether he hit the formation or not. Who are you, Taoist friend? What are you doing in my Blue Cloud sect? Shi Yanhe heard clearly that Yang Chen was in the shuttle just now, so there must be Sun Qingxue. She immediately sent out her spiritual awareness and hit the other person's spiritual awareness from afar. The cultivation of the person who was chasing was weak, so Shi Yanhe only politely asked the other party to report his name. This old man is Luo Yuan. The speed of the master who was chasing did not slow down, but this thought had already been passed through the spiritual awareness. Hand over the kid who escaped in, and this old man will turn around and leave. That is our sect's distinguished guest. Please forgive my Blue Cloud sect for not being able to comply. The Blue Cloud sect was also one of the top sections. If they were scared by this and obediently handed over Yang Chen, then the Blue Cloud sect would not be able to mix in the future. In their own sect's territory, people came to take away their distinguished guest. The Blue Cloud sect could not afford to lose this face. Then don't blame this old man for being impolite. Luo Yuan's figure did not slow down at all. At this moment, he had already crashed into the second layer of the mountain protection formation. That almost unbreakable mountain protecting grand array, in front of Luo Yuan, was like a piece of paper. A big hole immediately appeared, although it quickly recovered, but Luo Yuan had already rushed into the grand array. Yang Chen had rushed to Elder Hua wanting side at this moment. The Blue Cloud sect's alarm sounded everywhere. No one could stay still. All of them flew into the air to investigate. Elder Hua just met with Sect Master Lu and saw Yang Chen's shuttle flying quickly in front of them. Senior, catch. As Yang Chen spoke, Sun Qingxue's body suddenly appeared in front of Elder Hua. Hua Wanting was shocked. She subconsciously reached out and held Sun Qingxue in her arms. Seeing that Sun Qingxue was unconscious, Elder Hua and Sect Master Lu were about to ask questions. Yang Chen had already driven the shuttle far away, leaving only a voice, "This junior will take that guy away." What happened in the end, everyone was confused, but immediately everyone was nervous. The second layer of the mountain protecting grand array was actually broken. Although it has not yet entered the core area, this was already a shame that Blue Cloud sect has never had since the founding of the sect. Bold! Sect Master Lu shouted, and two masters of the Desheng stage had already rushed out. It was Elder Hua and another elder who had contributed in the 100,000 mountains. Two masters of the Desheng stage, plus Elder Shi Yanhe who had already gone out, the three people in three directions, directly surrounded Luo Yuan who was rushing over. No matter how strong Luo Yuan was, under the siege of three masters of the Desheng stage, he had to stop, but his spiritual awareness was still sweeping and scrupulously tracking Yang Chen's shuttle. Fellow Taoist rushing around like this, are you bullying my Blue Cloud sect? Elder Hua shouted at Luo Yuan. Who is that little girl? Luo Yuan stopped in the same place, pointing far away to Sun Qingxue, who had been rescued by another elder. That's my disciple. Elder Hua did not expect the other party to ask about the identity of Sun Qingxue, but at this moment, how could she hide it, and unabashedly said the identity of Sun Qingxue. Did my disciple offend you, to let fellow Taoists chase like this? Since she is a disciple of the Blue Cloud sect, then let's write it off. Luo Yuan was also a decisive person. He immediately knew that there was no advantage in the Blue Cloud sect. Moreover, looking at the posture of Sun Qingxue, it was clear that she had been following Yang Chen and could not play any big role. The key was with Yang Chen, and he could not be entangled here, and immediately drew a line with the Blue Cloud sect. I have offended you. After saying this, Luo Yuan's figure flashed and immediately flew back. He had already felt that Yang Chen's shuttle had escaped far away, and he was afraid that he would never be able to catch up. He did not think about it and quickly disappeared. There were 2 bangs in the distance. It was Luo Yuan who broke 2 layers of the mountain protection array, and his figure disappeared instantly, leaving a group of Blue Cloud sect people who did not know what happened looking at each other. Little Shui, what happened? Hua Wanting flew back to the side of Sun Qingxue. After a moment of careful exploration, she found that she was not injured all over her body, and asked anxiously. I don't know, I and Brother Yang just came out of the secret plane and were chased by him. Sun Qingxue only remembered that she was chased as soon as she came out of the secret plane. What happened later, she did not know, only that when she woke up, she was in the arms of an elder. At this moment, her master asked, and Sun Qingxue hurriedly replied. Secret plane? What secret plane? Everyone was shocked, and it actually involved the secret plane, and Hua Wanting was even more surprised to ask. Sun Qingxue was about to answer, but was stopped by Sect Master Lu. The Sect Master first let people lift the alarm, appease the disciples, and then let everyone return to the main hall of the sect. After a few restrictions, he said with a pleasant face, Little Shui, you explain the cause and effect clearly. This was where the sect was, and Yang Chen never said to hide from the sect. In front of her master, Sun Qingxue told the whole story of Yang Chen's search for the secret plane. Hearing that Yang Chen took Sun Qingxue to break into a secret plane, and also collected Qianyang True Fire and Third Fire True Essence, everyone looked incredible. If it wasn't for the 15 praying mantis corpses that Sun Qingxue brought back in front of everyone, no one could believe that this was done by 2 juniors in the foundation stage. Yang Chen killed 5 big praying mantis in a dozen breaths? If they didn't listen to Sun Qingxue, who could know this? Who would believe it? 5 big praying mantis in the Yuanying stage, a junior in the foundation stage, how could it be possible? But the body of the praying mantis that was beheaded was here, and no one could tell the reason. It couldn't be that Sun Qingxue beheaded it, right? Why did the master of the late Desheng stage chase you? This was what everyone really wanted to know, but from the description of Sun Qingxue, they could not find any reason. The 2 juniors did not offend anyone, nor did they rob anything, which was very strange. Chapter 510. This secret key was won by Yang Chen from the hands of the Wine Immortal. The Wine Immortal lost wholeheartedly, which everyone knew for a long time. Collecting the Qianyang True Fire and the Third Fire True Essence, that was Yang Chen's opportunity and luck, and it did not seem to hinder other people. Why did the master of the late Desheng stage even risk falling out with the Blue Cloud sect, and still want to chase Yang Chen? Since he let Sun Qingxue go, it was estimated that one was to look at the face of the Blue Cloud sect, and the other was that Sun Qingxue did not have what he wanted. If this was the case, then there was only one possibility: either Luo Yuan wanted the secret key, or he wanted the Third Fire True Essence. The possibility of the Third Fire True Essence was greater. With the Third Fire True Essence, maybe he could break through the bottleneck of the late Desheng stage and step into the peak Desheng stage, or even ascend. Only this reason could reasonably explain Luo Yuaning's unreasonableness of offending the Blue Cloud sect. Yang Chen estimated that he saw this, so he would leave Sun Qingxue and run. The reason why he didn't stay was to avoid the embarrassment of the Blue Cloud sect. If Yang Chen stayed, the Blue Cloud sect and Luo Yuan would inevitably have a war. If Luo Yuan insisted on Yang Chen, as a distinguished guest of the Blue Cloud sect, the Blue Cloud sect would certainly not easily agree, and the war was inevitable. And because of Yang Chen, the Blue Cloud sect made an enemy of the late Deshang stage. Even if everyone would not say anything at the beginning, but afterwards, many people would definitely have opinions. Maybe it would also affect the cooperation between the Blue Cloud sect and Chunyang Palace. Yang Chen's departure saved the Blue Cloud sect from embarrassment, and at the same time, it seemed that the Blue Cloud sect felt that they owed something. It could not be said that because of this, in the future cooperation, the Blue Cloud sect would inevitably take care of the Pure Yang Palace. Of course, Yang Chen had two other plans that had nothing to do with the Blue Cloud sect. If Luo Yuan couldn't win in Blue Cloud sect, he would definitely go to Chunyang Palace to kill Yang Chen. At that time, it was hard to say whether Chunyang Palace could withstand Luo Yuan's attack. Yang Chen would never bring the calamities back to the sect. But if Yang Chen kept running like this, and the other party couldn't catch up, then it had nothing to do with Chunyang Palace. One-on-one, a late Deshang stage couldn't catch up with a younger generation junior in the foundation stage. Did he still have the face to go to other people's sect to make trouble? Now, this matter was not only known to the few involved, but also to the Blue Cloud sect. At that time, if Luo Yuan went to Chunyang Palace, the Blue Cloud sect would have a reason. You, a master of the late Deshang stage, can't even deal with a younger generation junior in the foundation stage. Now you have to come to other people's sect to make trouble. If the two sects attacked together, Luo Yuan was definitely not an opponent. Now Yang Chen had only one way, desperately escape with Luo Yuan. When he couldn't escape, it was not a big deal to use the power of the bloody river in his sea of consciousness to seriously injure Luo Yuan. Although the golden bell has always been on his body, Yang Chen did not dare to bet on this body protection magic weapon to protect himself. The attack of the Yuanying stage master, Yang Chen could probably estimate it. The master of the Deshang stage, and also the late Deshang stage, Yang Chen could not guarantee that the golden bell could protect him. If he was not careful, it would be the end of death. Yang Chen had not yet reached the time when he was tired of living. Countless people saw this frightening moment. A bright light flashed in front of them. Before they could see clearly what it was, an overwhelming pressure descended, suppressing everyone to the point where they couldn't move at all. They were scared out of their wits, and could only watch helplessly as another beam of light flew past them. It took a long time for them to return to normal. No one knew what the two lights were, but one thing everyone could be sure of was that there was a top master. As for whether it was running or chasing, no one could tell. If it was chasing, then who was the guy who was running away, so powerful that he could escape under the pursuit of such a master? If it was escaping, then it was even more terrible. What could make such a master flee in panic? In the midst of the crazy chase, Luo Yuan became more and more surprised. What kind of magic weapon was this shuttle? It was so fast, and it has been chasing for so many days, almost 2 months. Yang Chen did not show any signs of spiritual power exhaustion. Junior, hand over the secret key, and I will spare your life. Luo Yuan was surprised, but he could not help but have other thoughts. A spiritual sense followed the spiritual awareness to catch up with Yang Chen and sounded in Yang Chen's ear. Why? How could Yang Chen agree? Luo Yuan wanted the secret key, absolutely, for the third fire true essence inside. Even if Yang Chen gave him the secret key, he could not get the third fire true essence. It would still be his own trouble. How could he agree? Catch up with me. Junior, don't give me face, stop it. Hearing Yang Chen's clamor, Luo Yuan almost burst his lungs. Catch up with him? Could it be that Yang Chen could escape for a lifetime? In his anger, Luo Yuan did not care about anything else and directly launched a spiritual awareness attack. At the beginning, Luo Yuan did not launch a spiritual awareness attack because he did not know the runes on the secret key and needed Yang Chen's guidance. He was afraid that a spiritual awareness attack would turn Yang Chen into a fool, and then he would get nothing. But now Yang Chen was so shameless, even if he had to seriously injure Yang Chen, Luo Yuan would also attack. Fortunately, Luo Yuan was in a rage, but he still remembered to take back some of his spiritual awareness, so Yang Chen might still have a chance to wake up. What surprised Luo Yuan was that after his own spiritual awareness attack was sent out, it was like a clay ox entering the sea, and it did not cause any waves. How was this possible? Not to mention Yang Chen, a junior in the foundation stage, even if it was a Yuanying stage master, in the face of his spiritual awareness attack, he would be injured. Luo Yuan was already furious at the moment, and a series of miscalculations made Luo Yuan unable to bear it any longer. He launched a spiritual awareness attack on Yang Chen. Xiao, an almost formed spiritual awareness, directly rushed into the shuttle and flew into Yang Chen's mind. There was no way to avoid it. Luo Yuan could easily see the state of Yang Chen. He was sitting in the shuttle at the moment. When the spiritual awareness attack entered his body, Yang Chen's figure did not shake, and he was still sitting in his position. But the movement of the shuttle was not hindered in the slightest, and it still maintained a terrifying high speed, without any signs of weakening. This time, Luo Yuan did not know what happened. He just looked at the shuttle flying at high speed, instinctively following, and his mind was blank. Could it be that Yang Chen was a master of the Deshang stage like him? Otherwise, how could there be no response to the spiritual awareness attack? Luo Yuan was surprised here, but Yang Chen was enduring tremendous pressure over there. Luo Yuan's two spiritual awareness attacks made Yang Chen suffer. If it weren't for the support of the three purities' secret art, Yang Chen might have already fainted. Chapter 511. The powerful strength of a master of the Deshang stage. When fully launched a spiritual awareness attack, the damage caused could be imagined. The last time Guan Yueying just used a spiritual awareness shock, it made Yang Chen vomit blood. Guan Yueying was only a master of the Yuanying stage, but this time Luo Yuan was in the Deshang stage. Although Yang Chen's cultivation base has been improved a lot compared to that time, although Yang Chen's spiritual awareness has been much higher than at that time, but the huge difference in this level still made Yang Chen snort twice and vomit blood again. A mouthful of blood rushed into his mouth, but Yang Chen did not dare to spit it out. If Luo Yuan behind him found out that he was vomiting blood, maybe he would immediately attack crazily. The violent spiritual awareness shock almost destroyed Yang Chen's sea of consciousness. If there were no Penglai divine wood and the huge ox skull as support, the fifth earth layer and the seventh metal layer paving, maybe his sea of consciousness would be directly shattered. Even so, the sea of consciousness only maintained the framework and no longer returned to its original appearance. And the injuries on his body were equally serious. The severe pain almost made Yang Chen faint. Fortunately, Yang Chen's performance deceived Luo Yuan, making Luo Yuan think that Yang Chen was not injured at all. Thinking of Yang Chen's previous performance, Luo Yuan instinctively felt that Yang Chen seemed to have some secret method, and was not afraid of the spiritual awareness attack at all. It was a waste of effort to launch a spiritual awareness attack on a person who was not afraid of the spiritual awareness attack. Luo Yuan immediately stopped this inefficient method. Moreover, launching a spiritual awareness attack was not without any cost. The scope of his own spiritual awareness immediately became smaller, and if he launched a few more times, he might lose the trace of Yang Chen. Luo Yuan's spiritual awareness attack was different from the spiritual awareness mark. After the attack was launched, the connection with the main body was cut off, so even if Yang Chen wanted to rely on his spiritual awareness to hurt Luo Yuan, he could not do it. There was no other way but to escape. After a few dozen days of travel, it was the sea. Luo Yuan was a fire cultivator, and he might be restrained at that time. Yang Chen just desperately urged the shuttle forward and did not dare to stop. Fortunately, as long as the shuttle had enough spiritual power, it could fly quickly, and the best quality spirit stone also provided the shuttle with super abundant spiritual power. The shuttle flew all the way forward. Along the way, the people who witnessed Luo Yuan's formidable strength were all shocked. Those who were blocking the road couldn't help but blame their parents for not giving birth to 2 more legs. They hurriedly got out of the way for fear that Luo Yuan would use them as a punching bag. Yang Chen's sea of consciousness had been condensed once when he and Gao used spiritual awareness double cultivation. Fortunately, there was that time. This time, under Luo Yuan's attack, his sea of consciousness could barely maintain the state of not falling apart. The strength of a master of the Deshang stage made Yang Chen simply terrified. Because he was still within the range of Luo Yuan's spiritual consciousness exploration, Yang Chen did not even dare to brazenly swallow a healing pill. He could only rely on his own cultivation to slowly heal his injuries. The injury of his spiritual awareness was even more serious, and the 3 purities secret art was almost unable to operate. Fortunately, Yang Chen endured the severe pain and forcibly lifted the 3 purities secret art. After 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, he finally barely completed a cycle of cultivation. During the process, there were several times when Yang Chen almost fainted from the pain, but he still relied on his strong perseverance to stay awake. The 3 purities secret art was absolutely powerful, there was no doubt about this. After cultivating the 3 purities secret art once, his sea of consciousness, which was about to fall apart, seemed to have become stronger again. Those flame entities and phantoms that were almost scattered also began to slowly transform into a slightly recovered appearance. Yang Chen did not dare to neglect. He constantly operated the 3 purities secret art. This was the key to his survival. Otherwise, if the other party attacked him again, he could only hate in the underworld. In the midst of the crazy escape, for 3 days and 3 nights, after a series of 3 purities secret art cultivation, Yang Chen finally discovered with joy that his sea of consciousness had finally returned to its original appearance and was even stronger than before. The support of the Penglai divine wood was more stable, and the entanglement of the blood phantom vine was more dense. The 5th earth layer was getting deeper and the 7th metal layer was getting denser. Those dense flame entities and phantoms were also getting brighter and brighter. After experiencing this heavy damage to his sea of consciousness, Yang Chen was a blessing in disguise. Once again, his sea of consciousness was condensed again. Even Yang Chen himself did not expect it. Of course, everything was still attributed to the strong sea of consciousness formed after cultivating the 3 purities secret art. Otherwise, Yang Chen would have no chance at all. Luo Yuan, who was in pursuit, was also more and more surprised. Yang Chen's performance was not like a younger generation of the foundation stage. Now Luo Yuan was also in a difficult position. The attack of his spiritual awareness seemed to have no effect on Yang Chen, and the flying sword could not catch up with Yang Chen's speed. If it wasn't for his own strong spiritual awareness, he could still detect the trace of Yang Chen. Maybe he would have already been rid of it. Even so, the distance between the two was slowly getting bigger. One day, Yang Chen would escape from the coverage of Luo Yuan's spiritual awareness. The shuttle was still maintaining the direction of the crazy escape, and Yang Chen in the shuttle did not move much. This situation made Luo Yuan more and more suspicious. Was Yang Chen unconscious, and everything was flying by itself? However, just when Luo Yuan was about to be tempted, Yang Chen suddenly turned his head and glanced at him. This action made Luo Yuan give up the temptation. However, a more powerful anger rose in his heart. A small foundation stage junior dared to be so arrogant in front of himself. Even if he chased Yang Chen to the sky and into the earth, Luo Yuan would not give up. The barely recovered spiritual awareness, so that Yang Chen finally had the capital to resist Luo Yuan's spiritual awareness attack. The injuries on his body were not so important. After cultivating the body of the yellow turban strongman body refining technique, in the past few days when the three purities secret art repaired the spiritual awareness injuries, the physical injuries have spontaneously improved, and even Yang Chen did not need to take any healing medicinal pills at all. Behind him, Luo Yuan was still in hot pursuit. The speed of the shuttle was faster than Luo Yuan, and it could not completely get rid of Luo Yuan's tracking. He couldn't beat him, and there was no other way but to escape like this. Luo Yuan was also a tortoise eating a weight. He was determined to chase Yang Chen. As long as he got the secret key of Yang Chen, after entering the secret plane and collecting the third fire true essence, he could break through the current bottleneck of his cultivation, enter the peak Deshang stage, and seek to ascend. For this purpose, he did not hesitate to be the enemy of the world. What was a small Yang Chen? In the widening gap between the two, Yang Chen finally saw the sea in the distance. Counting on his fingers, this chase and escape had lasted for more than 2 months. Luo Yuan's mind had changed from anger to anger mixed with surprise. He never thought that a junior in the foundation stage could escape his pursuit, and at the moment there were signs of escape. Chapter 5:12. The endless sea was the best refuge for Yang Chen now. The speed of the shuttle in the water was the same as in the air, but the other party was different. Luo Yuan was a fire cultivator. In this vast sea, he was naturally restrained. Especially in the water, whether it was spiritual awareness or attack, it would be affected. The shuttle drew a perfect curve and plunged into the sea, rushing to the bottom of the sea. Looking at this scene, Luo Yuan suddenly became a little dumbfounded. If he chased, entering the water, his powerful cultivation base would be reduced. He couldn't catch up before, and now he couldn't catch up. If he didn't chase, wouldn't so many days of hard work be in vain, and he would be ridiculed by the people of Blue Cloud sect? Soon Luo Yuan found a way. Yang Chen was at the bottom of the sea, and he couldn't come out. There were so many powerful monsters in the bottom of the sea, and there would always be one that could force Yang Chen to escape. Luo Yuan's person was still in the air, but his spiritual awareness penetrated the sea, firmly locked the position of the shuttle, and followed closely in the air. Yang Chen, of course, was also aware of this. For Luo Yuan not entering the water, Yang Chen had already been mentally prepared. In this way, his next plan could be slowly realized. Unlike Wu Xiong and Elder Wu, Luo Yuan did not refine a magic weapon for transportation. He thought that as long as his sword technique was strong, he could replace it. Now he finally tasted the bitterness. Since Luo Yuan was determined to get Yang Chen, he had not gotten any rest for a long time. However, Yang Chen was not tired at all on the shuttle, and could even spare time to cultivate carefully. The two were different, and naturally their spirit was completely different. As long as Yang Chen ran to a few more powerful monsters in the sea, he might be able to stimulate Luo Yuan and those monsters. 1 or 2 may not be Luo Yuan's opponents, but as long as there were more opponents, maybe Yang Chen would have a chance to take advantage of it. The Deshang stage was really terrible. As long as they made a move, Yang Chen had no possibility of survival. This was different from those masters of the Yuanying stage. Yang Chen did not dare to use his own life to bet that the golden bell could withstand Luo Yuan's attack. He could only use this roundabout means. This was a last resort. Since Yang Chen did not want to waste his natal magic treasure for the time being, he could only use this method. Fortunately, Yang Chen was still young, so he wasn't afraid that his opponent would fight him to the end. So far, a piece of top-grade spirit stone has not even been consumed by a small half, and Yang Chen still had 6 top-grade spirit stones of the same weight. According to this consumption rate, it was enough to spend a few years with the other party. Even if it was a master of the Deshang stage, if he didn't eat or drink for a few years, there would always be a chance, right? However, what surprised Yang Chen was that he did not encounter any powerful monsters along the way, even the peak Yuanying stage monsters. However, these monsters in the sea, after discovering that Yang Chen was rushing over at high speed, they were all ready to have a big meal, but as soon as they came into contact with Luo Yuan's spiritual awareness, they immediately fled far away and did not dare to show their heads, which made Yang Chen very disappointed. Just like Shi Kuei and Xie Sha, the monsters that could cultivate to the Yuanying stage were not fools, even in the sea. This time, Yang Chen was dumbfounded. No monster dared to fight Luo Yuan behind him. Wasn't this a big trouble? Wan Qian's cultivation was not worth a mention in the eyes of the other party. As soon as she appeared, it was estimated that she would be torn apart. The dome hall was not necessarily able to withstand the bombardment of a master of the Deshang stage. Yang Chen now had no choice but to run straight. On the vast sea, Yang Chen has been running with Luo Yuan for another 2 months, almost hundreds of thousands of miles, but Luo Yuan was still chasing him. If he went forward, he would go to an area that no one had ever been to. What was there, even if Yang Chen had tens of thousands of years of memory in his previous life, it was not clear. The only thing that was certain was that there would definitely be a monster of the Deshang stage, or even a powerful monster that could compete with Luo Yuan. But Yang Chen rushed straight past like this, which was definitely provoking the tolerance of the monster. Maybe Luo Yuan had not caught up with him, and the powerful monster had already killed him. However, Yang Chen still couldn't stop. A few days ago, Yang Chen just hesitated a little, and the distance that was opened with great difficulty was caught up by Luo Yuan again. It seemed that Luo Yuan's idea was to fight with Yang Chen to the end. See who can't hold on first, will fall into a disadvantage. If he died, then he died. Yang Chen gritted his teeth and continued to move forward. When he encountered a powerful monster, he would release the bloody river, and then Luo Yuan and the monster he encountered would be killed together. However, this was the final plan. It was related to his own flying sword and decades of hard work. Unless it was a last resort, Yang Chen would not use it. No one has ever gone so far into the sea. It was no longer an adventure, but a death sentence. While Yang Chen was gritting his teeth to escape, Luo Yuan was also gritting his teeth to hold on. Who knew that a little guy in the foundation stage would be so powerful? Under his nose, he took him to run for several months and also went so far into the sea? Give up? Luo Yuan could not afford to lose this person. Even a little guy in the foundation stage dared to do so. He, a master of the late Deshang stage, retreated. If this was spread out, the surnamed Luo would no longer be able to be a person. In the depths of his heart, Luo Yuan also admired Yang Chen in front of him. Although he still did not know the identity of Yang Chen up to now, he dared to speak in front of him in the foundation stage and stood firm until now, which was worthy of admiration. At least Luo Yuan himself also considered himself a genius in cultivation, but when he was in the foundation stage, he did not have such a performance as Yang Chen. In front of him, Yang Chen also noticed that Luo Yuan was catching up. At the same time, he hated Luo Yuan, but he also tried his best, racking his brains to find ways to see how he could get rid of Luo Yuan's pursuit. Now Yang Chen has understood that the reason why Luo Yuan was able to catch up with him was that he has been within the scope of Luo Yuan's spiritual awareness exploration. The scope of a master of the late Deshang stage's spiritual awareness exploration, Yang Chen did not know, but when he was in the immortal falling abyss, Wu Xiong could cover a radius of thousands of miles. With this understanding, Yang Chen knew that if he wanted to completely rely on the speed of the shuttle to get rid of Luo Yuan's pursuit, he was afraid that it would take more than 10 years, unless there was a way to make Luo Yuan's spiritual awareness unable to find himself. Spiritual awareness could not be detected. Yang Chen's first reaction was the formation in the secret plane. If it was detected from the bottom up, it could not be found at all. However, Yang Chen did not carefully study how to arrange the formation. This method would not work. Suddenly, Yang Chen's mind flashed the jade cup obtained in the treasure house of the Dragon Palace. It seemed that in addition to being able to condense the 10th water true essence, there was another characteristic of the jade cup. That was, the spiritual awareness could not detect it at all. Chapter 513. The head of the Chunyang Palace has received news from the Blue Cloud sect that Yang Chen was being chased by a master of the late Desheng stage, and his whereabouts were now unknown. The other party's name was Luo Yuan, but few people in the Blue Cloud sect have heard of his name. The cause of the incident was not very clear to Sun Qingxue, but after the analysis of the masters of the Blue Cloud sect, it was likely to be related to the secret key and the third fire true essence. After hearing the news, the first reaction of the head of the palace was to be furious. My Chunyang Palace disciple did not steal or rob things, why should he be chased? Check for me, who is this bastard son of a bitch? For the first time, the head of the palace did not have the majesty of the head of the palace. He behaved like a furious father who was bullied. I promise 10 questioning inner heart pills and destroy his whole family. This kind of unknown master of the Desheng stage was often from a certain aristocratic family. These people usually do not care about the right and wrong of the big sects, they only care about the rise and fall of their own family, and their reputation was usually prominent in a small area, but many people were not very clear. Listening to the statement of the Blue Cloud sect, Luo Yuan has not caught up with Yang Chen for the time being. Yang Chen has a very fast magic weapon, the other party can't catch up. But he has not been left behind and is still chasing. This statement made several senior members of the Chunyang Palace feel relieved, and boldly promised the price of 10 questioning inner heart pills, to destroy Luo Yuan and his family. Daring to chase the disciples of the Chunyang Palace, if there was no response from the Chunyang Palace, what kind of sect would they set up? So what if the other party was a master of the late Desheng stage? 10 questioning inner heart pills, it was estimated that there would be at least 5 masters of the Desheng stage. They would rather hold the name of bullying the few, and they had to find back this face. The only pity was that they still didn't know how Yang Chen's situation was, which made many people worried. The Blue Cloud sect was very apologetic. While bringing the news, it also brought the Blue Cloud sect's apology. At the very least, Yang Chen only left after sending Sun Qingxue back to Blue Cloud sect. Even with the strength of Blue Cloud sect, they did not stand up for Yang Chen. This went against their duties as allies. In the next 10 years, Blue Cloud sect would give an additional 20% of the profits of the 100,000 mountains to Chunyang Palace as an apology. Chunyang Palace couldn't do anything to the Blue Cloud sect in this matter. After all, Yang Chen was not a disciple of the Blue Cloud sect. It was normal for people not to want to become enemies with a master of the late Desheng stage. However, Yang Chen, such a talented disciple, actually fell into such a dangerous situation. It was really sad. After the incident, the Blue Cloud sect also felt that they did not do things properly. They were inquiring about the whereabouts of Yang Chen all over the world, which coincided with the practice of Chunyang Palace. Everyone was anxiously waiting for the news of Yang Chen's appearance. However, what surprised everyone was that the last place to see the two seemed to be at the seaside. Judging from the direction of Yang Chen's escape at that time, it was indeed in that direction. In other words, Yang Chen rushed directly into the sea, which made many people feel strange. Yang Chen was now holding the jade cup and pondering it up and down. Spiritual awareness couldn't be explored, which meant that it couldn't be marked with spiritual awareness at all. How could this be used for his own use? Luo Yuan was still in hot pursuit, and Yang Chen did not dare to be distracted to use his spiritual power to refine it. Moreover, if there was a similar thing to the golden bell last time, wouldn't Yang Chen be throwing himself into a trap? However, this characteristic of the jade cup was the best way that Yang Chen could think of to deal with Luo Yuan now. Once Yang Chen could master it, it meant that he could immediately get rid of Luo Yuan's pursuit, and Yang Chen was also forced into a dead end. Drop blood to recognize the owner? In Yang Chen's mind, the oldest and most simple method of recognizing the owner came to mind. It was the simplest way to temporarily connect the mind of the magic weapon and the user in the absence of spiritual awareness. It was also the simplest method. Could it be that this jade cup could also be used? Without thinking about it, Yang Chen directly cut a hole in his hand and forced out a drop of blood essence and dripped it on the jade cup. In the jade cup, there was already a lot of 10th water true essence. After such a long time, even if it was not on the sea, it still condensed a lot. A drop of blood essence went down, and suddenly, the bottom of the jade cup instantly turned red. The 10th water true essence dissolved Yang Chen's blood essence, and evenly spread it all over the bottom of the jade cup. Whoosh! Yang Chen's mind seemed to flash, and countless complex information rushed straight into his mind. It contained the secret method of using the jade cup and the further refining method. Success? Yang Chen was also stunned for a while. Who would have thought that such a high-level magic weapon would use such a low-level method of recognizing the owner? It was so simple that Yang Chen himself felt a little unreasonable. With the refining method, Yang Chen was no longer afraid of the problem of insufficient spiritual power in the refining process. According to the contents recorded in the jade cup, a new round of refining was immediately started. The drop of blood to recognize the owner only made the jade cup belong to him, but in the case of strong spiritual power, it was still possible to be deprived. After refining, it was different, it would completely belong to Yang Chen. In the process of escaping, Yang Chen began to concentrate half of his mind on refining the jade cup. This jade cup, the old Dragon King had a name, called Sea-Pouring Jasper Cup. In addition to shielding the spiritual awareness and condensing the 10th water true essence, when the cultivation base reaches a certain level, it even has the ability to overturn rivers and seas. Of course, Yang Chen now only wants to shield the spiritual awareness. According to the method provided by the Sea-Pouring Jasper Cup, Yang Chen began the process of refining with spiritual power. Luo Yuan estimated that he never dreamed that under his desperate pursuit, Yang Chen still had the leisure to quench his magic weapon. He has now urged all his strength to control the flying sword, but it is always a line away from the flying shuttle. He can only watch Yang Chen escape further and further. But this also aroused Luo Yuan's fierce thoughts. He wanted to see if Yang Chen would rather rush to the unknown sea to feed the monster, or stop and hand over the secret key to him. This chase and escape, it has been another half a year. It has been half a year since they went deep into the unknown sea. Along the way, for the time being, Yang Chen only encountered some Yuanying stage monsters. When they felt the spiritual awareness of Luo Yuan who was chasing behind, they would avoid far away, so there was no danger. Half a year later, Yang Chen finally followed the method recorded on the Sea-Pouring Jasper Cup and successfully completed the spiritual power refining. At this point, the Sea-Pouring Jasper Cup truly became Yang Chen's personal item. At this point, Yang Chen was finally relieved. While maintaining the Sea-Pouring Jasper Cup with the universe treasure-raising secret art, he was thinking about how to test the power of the Sea-Pouring Jasper Cup. Not to mention anything else, at least the shielding of spiritual awareness should be tested in front of Luo Yuan. Chapter 514. Luo Yuan was desperately chasing. For the younger generation of the foundation stage in front of him, he now had some admiration. Not any master could persist for a year under his sleepless pursuit, but this younger generation junior had done it, and he couldn't help but admire him. Luo Yuan, who was chasing, suddenly found that Yang Chen on the seabed suddenly disappeared. In great shock, Luo Yuan immediately increased the intensity of the exploration of his spiritual awareness, and explored the direction where Yang Chen had just disappeared again. But after 10 breaths, the trace of Yang Chen appeared again in the scope of Luo Yuan's spiritual awareness exploration, which made Luo Yuan breathe a sigh of relief. Maybe there was just something on the seabed that blocked his own spiritual awareness exploration. It was nothing to worry about. Yang Chen noticed the sudden increase in the intensity of Luo Yuan's spiritual awareness exploration and quickly removed the sea-pouring jasper cup, so that he once again appeared in the scope of Luo Yuan's spiritual awareness exploration. This small experiment made Yang Chen convinced that after he launched the sea-pouring jasper cup, Luo Yuan could not find him at all. After this discovery, Yang Chen was completely relieved. Now it was not a question of whether Yang Chen wanted to escape or not. If he wanted to escape, he could do it at any time. However, now that he had this life-saving weapon, Yang Chen's thoughts were too much. Today's great Yin and Yang 5 elements secret art, Yang Chen still lacked two kinds. One was the 6th Earth True Secret Art, and the other was the 3rd Fire True Secret Art. Although Yang Chen was a fire cultivator in his previous life, he did not get such a powerful cultivation method as the 3rd Fire True Secret Art. Luo Yuan chased after Yang Chen. There was a 90% possibility that it was the 3rd Fire True Essence, and the 3rd Fire True Essence, except for some powerful fire attribute monsters, the simplest and most direct way for cultivators to absorb and refine it was to cultivate the 3rd Fire True Secret Art. In other words, Luo Yuan, who was behind him, was likely to have the 3rd Fire True Secret Art. This was a great blessing for Yang Chen. Moreover, even without this reason, Yang Chen would not let Luo Yuan off. Even if Yang Chen successfully escaped this time, if Luo Yuan could still get news of him from Blue Cloud sect after he returned, Chunyang Palace would never be peaceful. Yang Chen did not want to bring such a big trouble back to Chunyang Palace, so he could only kill Luo Yuan in this unknown sea area. However, it was not an easy thing to deal with the master of the late Deshang stage. Yang Chen had only one way, that was to use another or more Deshang stage masters to deal with Luo Yuan, killing people with a borrowed knife. In this unknown sea, it was said that there were many Deshang stage monsters that had never appeared before. As long as Yang Chen meets it, the two sides are about to get close to each other, and successfully launches the Sea Jasper to escape the exploration of the two sides' spiritual awareness, it will be easy to let the two sides fight. At that time, Yang Chen could hold his arms and watch the two masters of the Deshang stage fight, sitting on the mountain and watching the tigers fight. At that time, when the sandpiper and clam fight, maybe it would be Yang Chen, the fisherman, who benefits. After making up this idea, Yang Chen rushed to the depths of the unknown sea area. Anyway, he could leave at any time, so he was not afraid of anything. In the sea, was there anything more reliable than the magic weapon that the East China Sea Old Dragon King solemnly kept? Of course, Luo Yuan did not know Yang Chen's plan, but more and more rushed into the deep sea. Luo Yuan's mind could not help but become nervous, and it was no longer as easy as when he first chased Yang Chen. Up to now, Luo Yuan still couldn't understand why his previous spiritual awareness attack, which had never failed, fell on Yang Chen's body, but it was useless. Yang Chen was just a junior in the foundation stage. How could he have such a fast magic weapon? But this also strengthened Luo Yuan's idea of chasing. As long as he could catch up with Yang Chen, wouldn't these secrets belong to Luo Yuan? Maybe he could get a good flying magic weapon, and there would be a more powerful spiritual awareness cultivation method. There was nothing wrong with this idea in itself, but the premise was that he could catch up with Yang Chen, and he could also force Yang Chen to say these method. Now, no matter how he thought about it, it was just a fantasy. Both sides had their own thoughts, but no one wanted to give up first. Everyone maintained this posture of one chasing and one fleeing, and continued to fly towards the unknown depths of the vast sea. No one thought that such a chase would take a full 5 years, and they had already gone millions of miles into the sea. During this period, it was not that they did not encounter a Deshang stage monster, but basically all of them were in the early Deshang stage, and they were easily dealt with by Luo Yuan, and even allowed him to harvest a lot of bones of the Deshang stage monster. This harvest alone made Luo Yuan satisfied. The bones of the Deshang stage monster could not be found anywhere and anytime. What's more, among these bones, there was a complete monster core of the Deshang stage monster. With these monster cores, Luo Yuan could learn from Elder Wu Xiong in the case of not getting the third fire true essence, collect the medicinal materials of the heaven-seizing pill, and then gather several alchemy masters who refined the heaven-seizing pill that year to refine the heaven-seizing pill again. If Luo Yuan knew that the younger generation junior he was chasing was one of the alchemy masters who refined the heaven-seizing pill that year, it was not known what expression Luo Yuan's face would have. That is, Luo Yuan was still desperately chasing Yang Chen, fearing that he would escape. Otherwise, as long as Luo Yuan spends a certain amount of time, he would refine the bones of these Deshang stage monsters into puppets. This kind of sea beast puppet could definitely catch up with the current shuttle in the sea. Yang Chen was also secretly complaining. The few Deshang stage monsters he had encountered before were relatively weak and were not the opponents of Luo Yuan. He didn't know where this guy came from, he was so strong. However, Luo Yuan did not find that Yang Chen could escape the exploration of his spiritual awareness. When facing the Deshang stage monster, he just thought that he couldn't be distracted, so there was no way to determine the position of Yang Chen. But as soon as the battle was over, he could immediately find the whereabouts of Yang Chen, which also made him feel relieved and bold to continue the pursuit. Walking at night for a long time, it was inevitable to encounter ghosts. Above this vast sea, after all, there were still countless powerful monsters that existed. Yang Chen did not feel the existence of the monster, but he noticed a hint of the wind tribulation. Yang Chen had experienced it himself, and the heaven-seizing pill had suffered a pill tribulation, which left a deep impression on Yang Chen. Thousands of miles ahead, there was a powerful monster that would soon face the wind tribulation, and the journey of thousands of miles would only take one day. Luo Yuan's cultivation base was strong, but in terms of knowledge, he did not even have 1% of Yang Chen. Following Yang Chen, he foolishly bumped into the territory of the Tribulation Beast. Chapter 5:15. This was the territory of a huge blue-ringed octopus. In its territory, there was no creature that dared to provoke its majesty. There was only one classification of creatures that could survive here, and that was its food. For many years, the blue-ringed octopus had been accustomed to the environment where there were no enemies. Even if there were a few guys who didn't know what was good for them, they would be torn directly by the blue-ringed octopus's huge tentacles in an instant. This was not counting the poison contained in the thin spikes on the tentacles. Soon to cross the tribulation and ascend, the blue-ringed octopus had been nesting on the bottom of the sea, recuperating. It had already felt the aura of the coming tribulation. The oppressive aura in the sky was full of huge energy, reminding it that maybe the next moment the wind tribulation would come. At this time, suddenly a small insect broke into its territory at a high speed, and the blue-ringed octopus couldn't ignore it. However, the blue-ringed octopus didn't even need to move. It just stretched out far away and sent out a little spiritual awareness somewhere on the huge tentacles. It found that the strength of the small insect was too low, and it was estimated that it couldn't even tickle him. The tribulation was imminent, and this old man was too lazy to pay attention to it. Under the strong pressure of the tribulation, the blue-ringed octopus didn't even open the spiritual awareness of the main body. It had to concentrate on dealing with the wind tribulation that might appear at any time. But this did not mean that it had lost control of the territory. In fact, when the huge body spread out, it had already had a range of hundreds of thousands of feet. The big suckers on each tentacle could send out a separate spiritual awareness to scan the surroundings. The size of the seabed mollusks could not be judged by the common sense on land. However, after a few dozen breaths, it had to start paying attention. A powerful aura with an indomitable momentum rushed into its territory, and looking at the direction, it was heading straight for its body. Yang Chen did not find the body of the blue-ringed octopus. After he found the signs of the wind tribulation, he immediately retracted his spiritual awareness, for fear that any action would stimulate the powerful monster that was about to cross the tribulation. When it came to the realm of crossing the tribulation, the blue-ringed octopus no longer needed the bright blue rings on its body to warn the surrounding creatures. The octopus was very good at hiding its body. Its body was now perfectly discolored into a huge hill at the bottom of the sea. Even if someone stood on its head, it was impossible to find that it was not a real mountain, but a huge blue-ringed octopus. Although he could not find the true body of the monster, Yang Chen could determine its location from the signs of the wind tribulation, so he chose to go straight for the octopus. Luo Yuan, who was behind him, did not know this at all. He followed the footsteps of Yang Chen and rushed directly to the blue-ringed octopus. The appearance of Yang Chen naturally would not make the blue-ring octopus vigilant, but Luo Yuan was different. The powerful strength of the late Deshang stage made the blue-ring octopus immediately classify him as a guy who wanted to take advantage of the situation. Provocation, this is a blatant provocation. Could it be that this old man is about to cross the tribulation, so he doesn't dare to be distracted, so he wants to take advantage of this opportunity? The monster that was going to cross the tribulation had already had the mind of not losing to any smart people, and immediately defined Luo Yuan as a life-and-death enemy. Luo Yuan was still firmly locked in the position of Yang Chen with his spiritual awareness, and did not care about the spiritual awareness that appeared from time to time on the bottom of the sea that was spread out for thousands of feet. These spiritual awareness were very weak individually, at most they were at the level of the late Yuanying stage. Luo Yuan did not pay attention to this level of monster, and directly rushed over. Based on Luo Yuan's previous experience, once these weak monstrous beasts encountered his spiritual consciousness, they would probably judge his level and immediately leave. Only those who have just entered the Deshang stage and thought that they had to defend their territory would stupidly rush up and then be killed by his flying sword, and there would be a lot of spoils of war. This time was definitely the same, but Luo Yuan did not dream that the foolproof judgment of his spiritual awareness would make two fatal mistakes in a row this time. Yang Chen's figure suddenly disappeared from the scope of the exploration of the spiritual awareness again, and there was no aura. This situation was not the first time that this had happened, and Luo Yuan was not surprised. There were also many mountains and dark trenches on the seabed. After Yang Chen entered here, this situation might appear. Usually, Yang Chen would appear again soon. But what surprised Luo Yuan was that this time, Yang Chen did not appear. After almost 100 breaths of time, there was still no trace of Yang Chen. Maybe the dark trenches on the seabed were longer, but to be on the safe side, Luo Yuan still increased the scope of the exploration of his spiritual awareness. Maybe he could immediately find the figure of Yang Chen. A huge hill appeared on the seabed, which made Luo Yuan somewhat relieved. Maybe Yang Chen was under this mountain and had not rushed out yet. Luo Yuan would not believe that this huge mountain on the seabed was the head of the blue ring octopus entrenched here. In order to find Yang Chen, he deliberately increased the exploration of his spiritual awareness. At such a close distance, it was completely regarded as a provocation by the blue ring octopus. Boom! An earth-shattering divine sense was suddenly released from the huge mountain peak, firmly locking onto Luo Yuan, who was rushing over. 8 huge tentacles on the seabed had been madly raised, directly entangling Luo Yuan in the air. The collision of the two spiritual awareness was like a huge bomb detonated on the sea. In the rumbling sound, the seawater in a radius of hundreds of miles was stirred up, and 8 towering pillars appeared directly from the bottom of the sea, surrounding Luo Yuan in the middle, forming a huge cage from the air, rolling towards Luo Yuan. Luo Yuan was shocked. How could he think that there would be such a huge monster beast here? Just the collision of the spiritual awareness let him know that the strength of this monster beast was not under him. What made Luo Yuan most afraid was that the other party was a seabed creature, which was the home ground and occupied the geographical advantage. In terms of attributes, water restrained fire, he was restrained by the other party. The most important thing was that he had been chasing Yang Chen for more than 5 years without sleep, and there were several battles in the middle. He had never taken a break, but the other party had been cultivating in this place. At this moment, Luo Yuan could no longer care about Yang Chen. Even if there was no third fire true essence, he still had the opportunity to refine the heaven-seizing pill. Thinking of this, Luo Yuan almost did not hesitate to turn around and escape. In the face of such a terrifying seabed monster, he was a fool. However, it was a bit late to run at this time. Perhaps when he was thousands of miles away, he did not break in, and there was a chance to leave. Now there was no choice but to fight. Chapter 5:16. The towering pillar was the weapon of the blue-ringed octopus, with countless suckers. At this moment it was completely releasing its divine sense. The intensity of the concentration, even with Luo Yuan's strength, could not help but be shocked, and his mind was almost lost. Without thinking about it, the flying sword under Luo Yuan's feet flew out and slashed towards the huge wrist in the direction of his escape. The flying sword flew out for a while and had become extremely huge, but compared with those huge wrist limbs, it was still like a small toothpick. Hey, the flying sword easily pierced the wrist limbs, but the pierced part only flowed out some blue juice, but it immediately grew back. The flying sword just left, less than a breath of time, the wound on the wrist had been completely recovered. In such a shot, several wrist limbs behind him had already entangled. The flying sword was still killing the wrist limbs in the distance. Luo Yuan was shocked and hurriedly made a secret technique. A huge circle of fire appeared around him in an instant, and he was firmly surrounded in it. Above the circle of fire, a large fireball flew out quickly and attacked the surrounding wrist limbs. There was a series of explosions, and on the wrist limbs closest to him there were dozens of black fireball explosions. This wrist limb was almost instantly retracted into the sea, but the surrounding wrist limbs did not care at all, and still maintained the original trend to entangle Luo Yuan. The flying sword controlled by Luo Yuan has been changed from a stab to a horizontal cut, but the wrist limbs were too big. Even Luo Yuan's flying sword could not cut it off. After cutting off half of it with great difficulty, Luo Yuan was about to make another slash in the same position, but he was shocked to find that the half of the wrist that had just been cut off had been restored to its original state in such a short time, which made him feel very panicked. He couldn't hurt the other party, or if he had a little injury, the other party would recover immediately, but he had been firmly surrounded by the huge wrist limbs. Once he was dragged into the sea, there was only one end left. There was no other possibility except to die here. At this moment, Luo Yuan's heart was already full of regret. A junior in the foundation stage, he actually chased after him for a full 5.5 years. He was a master of the late Desheng stage. It was already shameful to do such a thing as killing people and robbing them, and even a junior in the foundation stage couldn't be dealt with, and he even threw him to his grandmother's house. If he didn't have to catch up with Yang Chen, how could he get to this point now and put himself in danger? If he knew this, why did he have to chase after Yang Chen? But now, even if he regretted it, it was too late. There was no medicine for regret in this world. Luo Yuan could only brace himself and use all his skills, trying to break out of the cage woven by a few limbs. The flying sword on this side was chopping happily. The huge head of the octopus under the sea suddenly issued a powerful and unparalleled spiritual awareness shock, which had the same effect as Luo Yuan's spiritual awareness attack against Yang Chen. The invisible spiritual awareness seemed to turn into a sharp sword and rushed straight to Luo Yuan's body. At the same time, a highly toxic black water rushed up from the bottom of the sea and directly wrapped Luo Yuan in it. The ring of fire around Luo Yuan, as soon as it touched this black water, was instantly extinguished, and there was no more sparks. The black water has not yet touched his body. Luo Yuan smelled a strong stench. The toxin contained in the breath has already made Luo Yuan slightly dizzy. If he let the black water touch his body, it would be terrible. Without thinking about it, a body armor instantly appeared outside Luo Yuan's body, emitting a burst of light, blocking the black water outside the light. However, the horror of the black water was far beyond Luo Yuan's expectations. After being stained with the light, it began to sizzle and corrode the light. There was a sharp pain in his mind, and the blue-ringed octopus's spiritual awareness attack also hit Luo Yuan. The spiritual awareness of the two was very strong. Under such a violent collision, Luo Yuan almost could not control the flying sword. Even so, Luo Yuan felt a buzz in his mind and the pain was unbearable. Luo Yuan was shocked. In this situation, it was only a matter of time before he died. At this time, where could he still care about other things? He directly threw out the body of an early Deshang stage monster from the Qianquan bag, and then the body directly exploded under the control of Luo Yuan. The body exploded with the monster core. The power was so great that even if it was the blue-ringed octopus, it was directly blown off by this terrifying explosion. The gigantic tentacle quickly retracted into the water with its severed arm. But the black water around Luo Yuan did not weaken. It was still hissing and corroding the light of the body armor. At the same time, several other intact wrist limbs were not hindered at all, and still entangled Luo Yuan. Luo Yuan, who was trying to escape while the 3 wrist limbs were blown off, suddenly collided with the blue-ringed octopus's spiritual awareness again. His brain was dizzy again, but he could no longer escape the entanglement of the wrist limbs. As a last resort, he took the initiative to fall into the sea. Entering the sea, Luo Yuan knew that it was not good, but it was already useless. The water was definitely the world of the blue-ringed octopus, which was better than the air. In such a short time, the 3 wrist limbs that had just been blown off had been restored to their original state. The 8 wrist limbs were like 8 huge dragons, flexibly entangled around Luo Yuan, and from time to time issued an attack. In the blink of an eye, Luo Yuan was already struggling to cope with it. Suddenly, a clear voice appeared in his ear. "Senior, are you having a good time chasing me?" It was Yang Chen, who didn't know where he was, but he used a wisp of spiritual awareness to pass it over. Luo Yuan, who was already in a bad situation, heard Yang Chen's voice, and immediately remembered that all of this was almost caused by Yang Chen. If it wasn't for Yang Chen, how could he, a master of the late Deshang stage, be reduced to such a situation? However, at the moment of this fierce battle, he was so distracted and angry. A wrist limb heavily slammed on Luo Yuan's body. The body armor, almost without any accident, directly turned into pieces. "I will fight with you." In the end, Luo Yuan was still a master of the late Deshang stage. In the case of knowing that he was likely to be defeated, he also broke out with the courage to fight desperately. At this time, the position of Luo Yuan's fall was not far from the huge head of the blue-ringed octopus. At this moment, Luo Yuan no longer cared about holding back, and directly released all the bodies of the Deshang stage monsters in the Qianquan bag. Along the way, there were more than a dozen of them. "Explode for me!" Luo Yuan shouted, and more than a dozen monster corpses, not far from the head of the blue-ringed octopus, burst open. The huge explosion directly on the head of the blue-ringed octopus, it burst a deep pit. Chapter 5:17. With this serious injury, the blue-ringed octopus was even more furious, and the wrist and feet madly whipped twice. Luo Yuan, who had lost his body armor, only had time to summon 2 other body protection magic weapons, which were instantly smashed. The 3 body protection magic weapons were all broken, and there was nothing that could be used. Then, the next wrist and feet whipped directly on Luo Yuan's body. In the water, Luo Yuan's fire attribute cultivation base was almost restrained, and it was impossible to run faster than the monster beast in the water. Luo Yuan had no choice but to rely on his strong cultivation base to meet these 3 angry attacks. Puff, a mouthful of blood spurted out, and the surrounding seawater instantly turned into a blood red. The huge strength made Luo Yuan's bones have been broken by more than half, and his whole body floated powerlessly in the seawater. A wrist quietly appeared behind Luo Yuan, and directly rolled him up. With a little force, Luo Yuan's body made a kacha-kacha sound, and he fainted directly. If it weren't for Luo Yuan's strong cultivation base, with such injuries, he would have died long ago. But at this moment, life and death are no longer under his control. The angry blue-ringed octopus, the next moment, will twist him into a pool of meat sauce and eat him as a tonic. Senior, the ascension is imminent. Suffering from this serious injury, this younger generation junior is willing to help the senior. Yang Chen's thoughts collided with the blue-ringed octopus's spiritual awareness through the beast-controlling secret art and passed directly into the blue-ringed octopus's mind. The blue-ringed octopus's anger was also due to this. The tribulation was imminent, but a guy came in to make trouble, and blew up such a big hole in its head, causing its strength to be greatly reduced. In this way, there was no certainty in crossing the tribulation. Yang Chen's thoughts made the blue-ringed octopus suddenly stunned. Then he realized that this was the thought of the shrimp that first broke in. It was just strange that Yang Chen's thoughts were very clear, but the blue-ringed octopus did not know where Yang Chen was. With such ability, and he also had the aura of the monster race, compared to Luo Yuan, it was easier for the blue-ringed octopus to accept. The blue-ringed octopus immediately passed a thought. How can you help me? Junior has a bottle of 10th water true essence in my hands. Maybe it will help Senior's injury a little. Yang Chen's thoughts passed over again, but the blue-ringed octopus still couldn't find Yang Chen's trace. Things like 10th water true essence, even in the sea, were not always available. The blue-ringed octopus certainly knew what the 10th water true essence was. If there was a bottle, not to mention the recovery of the injury, maybe its cultivation base could go further. What do you want? It was simple for smart people to speak. Immediately, the blue-ringed octopus realized that Yang Chen was talking like this, and he must have a request, so he asked straightforwardly. In the world of demonic beasts, this kind of exchange was not a problem at all. It was a matter of course. There was no such thing as should or shouldn't, or taking advantage of the situation. Junior only wants the things on him. Yang Chen did not stand on ceremony and directly stated his request. The things on Luo Yuan, maybe there is the third fire true secret art that he wants, this is a must, otherwise if he misses it, Yang Chen will definitely regret it for a lifetime. Take it. Although the blue-ringed octopus's wrist was huge, it was very flexible. It quickly took off Luo Yuan's Qiankuan bag from his body, and then directly placed it in an obvious position. Whiz, a light flashed, and the Qiankuan bag disappeared, but in the original position, there was a jade bottle covered with talismans. A wrist directly rolled up the jade bottle, and then sent it to the huge mouth of the blue-ringed octopus. The talisman flew directly, and the jade bottle exuded the aura of 10th water true essence. At the moment, the blue-ringed octopus no longer had any doubts, and the wrist took off the cap of the jade bottle and threw it directly into its mouth. At the same time, Luo Yuan's body on the other wrist was not wasted. The wrist stretched forward and directly sent Luo Yuan's body into its mouth. The body of the late Deshang stage master was definitely a great supplement for the monster. Compared with Shi Kuei and Xie Sha's absorption of 5th Earth True Essence, the blue-ringed octopus's absorption of 10th Water True Essence was at least hundreds of times faster. In just a few hours, the octopus's body exuded the aura of 10th Water True Essence. The huge body of hundreds of thousands of feet long quickly shrank, and in a short period of time, it shrank at least 10 times. When the monster itself passed the Yin fire tribulation and entered the Deshang stage, the body would shrink a lot. But the blue-ringed octopus was still hundreds of thousands of feet long, and it could be imagined how huge the body was at that time. The size of the marine creatures could not be measured by the size of the land creatures. Even if it shrank 10 times in size so quickly, the body of the blue-ringed octopus was still tens of thousands of feet long, and it was still a huge behemoth. The deep pit on the head that was blasted by the bodies of more than a dozen Deshang stage monsters and monster cores has disappeared without a trace, and the improvement of the cultivation base could even be seen by Yang Chen. Predecessor, I'm afraid that this is not very good. Yang Chen's thoughts were once again passed to the mind of the blue-ringed octopus. What else do you want? The blue-ringed octopus didn't even ask what Yang Chen meant, and directly asked the question that Yang Chen wanted to ask the most. Make a good karma. Yang Chen's words made the blue-ringed octopus very surprised. Did he help himself just to make a good karma? This seems a bit unjustifiable. After this younger generation junior ascends one day, maybe I will have to ask the predecessor to take care of me. Yang Chen's thoughts came again. Along with this thought, there was also a transformation secret arts mnemonic formula. Deal. The blue-ringed octopus saw the value of the transformation secret art at a glance and agreed directly without thinking about it. Such a huge body size was also a weakness of the blue-ringed octopus. The larger the body size, the more troublesome it was to control, and the larger the range of the wind tribulation, the more difficult it was to resist. The transformation secret art could make the monster transform into a human form. Even a powerful human form was tens of thousands of times smaller than the current blue-ringed octopus. The benefits for the blue-ringed octopus were simply unparalleled. The more powerful the monster, the faster the cultivation of the transformation secret art. It took almost a month for Shi Kuei and Xie Sha to master the transformation secret art, but it was almost 2 or 3 days for the old tree demon. But on the blue-ringed octopus side, this speed was refreshed again. In just a few hours, the huge body of the blue-ringed octopus began to change again. The 8 huge tentacles contracted rapidly and quickly became limbs. The huge head of the hill also began to shrink. The tens of thousands of feet long body suddenly became a normal human form. The scene was shocking. When all the changes were completed, a naked and charming beauty appeared in the eyes of Yang Chen. Chapter 518. On the body of the beautiful woman, there were some bright blue rings very regularly distributed, just like the tattoos on the body, which looked pleasing to the eye, but also had a very strong warning meaning. It seems that she has not been accustomed to the human body. From time to time, the beautiful woman stretched out her hands and raised her feet on the bottom of the sea, looking very curious. After waiting for a long time, she seemed to get used to the new body, and then realized that she was not right. There was not a single thread on the whole body. It didn't matter when she was a monster, but now it was a bit awkward. After the beautiful woman looked down at herself, she shook her body slightly, and then a set of blue palace clothes appeared on her body, covering the beautiful body that made people's heart beat. Maybe the senior can look at these, it should be of some help to the wind tribulation. Yang Chen's thoughts came again, and the scene of the heaven seizing pill tribulation soon appeared in the mind of the beautiful woman. It seems that she did not expect that Yang Chen would have such a memory picture. The beautiful woman was like a treasure. She closed her eyes and recalled the picture that Yang Chen sent for a long time, and then opened her eyes. Thank you. This time the beautiful woman spoke, but it was sincere gratitude. With the picture of the heaven seizing pill tribulation, it almost taught her half of the experience of crossing the tribulation. 10th water true essence plus transformation secret art plus these, she had almost a 90% chance of success. Even before the injury of the battle with Luo Yuan, the beautiful woman did not necessarily have a 30% chance of crossing the tribulation, but now she has a 90% chance of success, and it was entirely because of the 3 things that Yang Chen gave her. The monster was not ungrateful, and the first reaction of the beautiful woman was to thank him. This junior is Yang Chen. What is the name of the senior? At this point, Yang Chen can finally rest assured and boldly show his figure. The world of the monster was far simpler than that of humans, especially in the mortal world. Lan Ing, the beautiful woman in the palace dress said. Her voice was very crisp and sweet, and it came from the sea, and it was very pleasant to listen to. I have seen Senior Lan Ning. Yang Chen bowed to Lan Ning and then said, "Congratulations in advance to the senior's success in crossing the tribulation and ascending in the day. Thank you for your kind words." Lan Ning also slightly bowed to Yang Chen and then asked in surprise, "Aren't you a calf?" This younger generation junior had a chance to learn the cultivation method of the monster race. A sentence explained Yang Chen's current situation. In fact, by now, whether Yang Chen was a human or a demon, Lan Ning didn't care. Regardless of Yang Chen's identity, Lan Ning was very grateful. "That expert is chasing after you, right?" Of course, Lan Ning had already discovered that Yang Chen was the insignificant little bug that first rushed into her territory. Thinking of Luo Yuan rushing in, it was easy to guess the answer. This junior is ashamed. Yang Chen didn't deny it. He lowered his head and acknowledged it. Then, he expressed his gratitude. "Thank you for saving me, senior." "Forget it." Lan Ning waved her hand. At this point, it was meaningless to say anything about cause and effect. The important thing was that, if there was no such thing, maybe Yang Chen would not give her the 10th water true essence and the transformation secret art at all. Compared with what Yang Chen got, she got more. "With your cultivation base, you can run to my territory, but it's rare." Lan Ning looked at Yang Chen with interest and said strangely, "Actually, this junior is already lost." Yang Chen's words made Lan Ning unable to help but stare. It was really rare for someone to be lost so far away. Of course, Yang Chen was not really lost, but it was easier for Lan Ning to accept it. "Do you want me to show you the way back?" Lan Ning tilted her head, showing a breathtaking look, and asked with a smile. "Senior is willing to point out this junior can't wait." Yang Chen also smiled. To be honest, even Yang Chen had never been to this sea area in his previous life. Until now, he knew nothing except that it would take more than 5 years for him to return to the familiar world. "I don't know what the direction you came from." Unexpectedly, Lan Ning also didn't know the direction Yang Chen came from, but she immediately pointed to another direction and said, "However, from here, it is about less than 2 years' journey in this direction. It is a large land full of demons." "Demon continent?" Yang Chen's face changed slightly. "Well, yes, it is said that it is called this name. Most of them are monsters and demons, and there are very few people from your Dao sect." Lan Ning was stunned. It seemed that Yang Chen knew the name. "When I was young, I went there for a few days. Apart from fighting and killing, there was nothing else. It was very boring, so I came back." The demon continent. Yang Chen knew that many powerful guys in the spiritual world ascended from here. In his previous life, Yang Chen hid from place to place and did not dare to go to this place. Unexpectedly, this time, he came here by accident. "Thank you, Senior, for your guidance." Knowing the general location, Yang Chen also solemnly thanked Lan Ning. "With your current cultivation base, I'm afraid it will be a disaster if you go there." Lan Ning was very surprised that Yang Chen's cultivation base could escape here. You must know that Luo Yuan was a master of the late Desheng stage. It was easy to chase a little guy in the foundation stage. However, thinking of Yang Chen's trick that could make her unable to find his ability, Lan Ning was relieved. If he couldn't beat him, he could always escape. On the way, there are a lot of powerful guys. Whether you go to the demon continent or go back to your original place, I'm afraid there will be a little trouble. Lan Ning said with a smile, "I still have a little reputation here. You can take this. At least in 1,000,000 miles of the sea, there will be no guy who dares not to give me face." With that, Lan Ning handed over a blue bead, but it was a crystal condensed by Lan Ying's own monster power. It had Lan Ying's powerful spiritual awareness imprint on it, which was also the most representative of Lan Ying's identity. "Thank you, Senior." Yang Chen respectfully reached out and took it. With this bead, within this 1,000,000 miles of the sea, Yang Chen could almost walk horizontally, and he would no longer have to worry about any monster to threaten him. This was a big gift. Moreover, even without this blue bead itself was an extremely rare monster power crystal. It could be felt in his hand that it was not just a symbol of status. This younger generation junior still has a presumptuous request, and I ask senior to agree. Yang Chen unceremoniously put away the bead, which made Lan Ying feel more at ease. When she heard Yang Chen say it, she asked casually, "What request?" When the senior crosses the tribulation, this younger generation junior would like to attend the ceremony. Yang Chen was a very formal request to Lan Ying. Chapter 519. It was the dream of countless cultivators to observe a Deshang stage master's tribulation and ascend at a close distance. Although Yang Chen had already gone through the tribulation in his previous life, from the perspective of a bystander, he had not really seen it, so he made such a request. Moreover, if Yang Chen could observe it at a close distance, the experience of Lan Ying's tribulation could definitely be a great reference for several masters of Chunyang Palace. Even Yang Chen was tempted. When someone was crossing the tribulation, unless it was a close relative or a fully trusted person, no one would agree. The reason why Yang Chen said that this was a presumptuous request was because of this reason. Once a hostile person attacked during the tribulation, at least the success rate of crossing the tribulation would be reduced to an unpredictable level. Yang Chen certainly understood this truth, so after making this request, Yang Chen immediately went on to say something. Senior, this younger generation junior gave senior the 10th water true essence, gave senior the transformation secret art, and even let senior observe the scene of the heaven-seizing pill tribulation, not for the sake of improving senior's cultivation base and then plotting against you. When talking to the monster, sometimes it was more direct, there was no need to beat around the bush, and this was the case for Yang Chen. I didn't say that I don't agree. Lan Ying smiled, and her expression showed great self-confidence. Moreover, it's not that I look down on you, with your cultivation base. Even if I am crossing the tribulation, it is not an easy thing for you to plot against me. After Yang Chen accepted the medicinal crystal of Lan Ying, it seemed that Lan Ying's attitude had changed. Perhaps because of the demon power crystal, Lan Ying could find Yang Chen's position anytime and anywhere, no longer in the uncontrollable state where Yang Chen could disappear under the exploration of her spiritual awareness. Yang Chen also knew the deep purpose of Lan Ying giving him the demon power crystal. He did not say it, and directly put it in his own Qiankuan bag, so that Lan Ying could find his position at any time. This was a double insurance. Without this, Lan Ying would not fully trust Yang Chen. Thank you, Senior, for your understanding. Yang Chen hurriedly thanked Lan Ying. Lan Ying said this, which meant that she agreed to his own ceremony. However, when I cross my tribulation, I can't protect you. Lan Ying then said, how close you can get, it depends on your strength. When the old tree demon passed the Yin fire tribulation, even the elders of Chunyang Palace could not get too close. This time, the wind tribulation was more than 100 times more powerful than the Yin fire tribulation. With Yang Chen's cultivation of Zhuji period, it was really difficult to observe it at a close distance. However, this was not a big problem for Yang Chen. The higher the cultivation of the person undergoing the tribulation, the smaller the area of influence of the wind tribulation. Secondly, in the deep sea, the power of seawater transmission was limited. Yang Chen had the golden bell to protect his body, coupled with the thick seawater. He believed that he could endure it. Anyway, as long as the distance was not too close, Yang Chen still had a full opportunity to observe the rare spectacle of the tribulation in this world. Lan Ying was still a little nervous before, she was not sure about the tribulation. She had been recuperating and waiting for the tribulation to come. At this moment, with several things from Yang Chen, she was full of confidence. She was also waiting for the arrival of the tribulation, but this time she was looking forward to it. The changes in the sky quickly reached the bottom of the sea. The violent spiritual power shock made Yang Chen no longer able to stay in the same place. He took the shuttle and quickly retreated until he felt that it was enough. Then he stopped, his spiritual awareness was completely retracted, and his eyes were staring at the movement over there. Although it was in the deep sea, the powerful power of the wind tribulation still made the area where Lan Ying was shining as if it was daytime. Even if Yang Chen was so far away with his current eyesight, he could still see it clearly. The first wind tribulation began to fall, and Lan Ying seemed to be very easy to take it. Although the time of absorbing the 10th water true essence was not long, it had completely transformed her body. This change alone made her cultivation base stronger by at least half. Looking at Lan Ying so easily taking the first wind tribulation, Yang Chen knew that his judgment was right, and moved forward a distance to let himself see it more clearly. As long as his spiritual awareness was not sent out, he would not be affected by the wind tribulation. At this point, Yang Chen was still sure. When the second wind tribulation came, Yang Chen found that he was a little too far forward, and still rushed into the scope of the aftermath of the wind tribulation. The silent wind tribulation, compared with the mighty thunder tribulation, was not known how many times more dangerous. Even if Yang Chen had the experience of successfully crossing the tribulation, he was still shocked by the terrifying aftermath. With his current cultivation base, observing this level of heaven's tribulation at a close distance was indeed a bit too much. Fortunately, the powerful power of the golden bell helped Yang Chen to easily block the aftermath. Yang Chen did not rashly explore the scope of the heaven's tribulation directly with his spiritual awareness. The wind tribulation did not affect Yang Chen, but the aftermath did not cause much harm. Even so, this kind of wind generated from the inside out still washed Yang Chen's whole body. At that moment, Yang Chen even thought that he was also affected by the wind tribulation. He was shocked in his heart and almost released his spiritual awareness. Fortunately, Yang Chen's will was firm. He resisted the discomfort and endured it. After the aftermath of the wind tribulation passed through the body, he only felt that his whole body was like being carefully massaged, and his whole body was comfortable. He did not bear the power of the wind tribulation, but he enjoyed the subtle and almost non-existent process of the wind tribulation. Of course, he would feel very comfortable after that. At the same time of crossing the tribulation, it was actually a process of condensing the cultivation base and discharging the impurities in the body. After discovering this, Yang Chen stayed in place and stopped moving, waiting for the blue shadow to begin to pass the third, the fourth, until the 9th wind tribulation. The power of the heavens tribulation was getting stronger and stronger, but the blue shadow had been doing it with ease. Only when it came to the last one, the relaxed look of the blue shadow changed a little. This time, it was also the most powerful. The whole body of the blue shadow seemed to be burning. In the raging fire, the body of the blue shadow seemed to become more exquisite. After a dazzling light flashed, the surroundings suddenly returned to calm, as if nothing had happened. In the distance, the blue palace dress on the blue shadow had disappeared without a trace, but her body was unscathed. The 9-wind tribulation only made her lose a set of clothes. She was also a strong person among the strong. "You are really lucky." The blue shadow's body flickered, and no one knew where she came out with a set of blue palace dress, and then slowly floated in front of Yang Chen. "I believe that I can wait for you in the spiritual world." Chapter 520. Congratulations, Senior. Yang Chen's face was full of smiles, and he looked completely happy, and congratulated Lan Ying. "Speaking of which, I should thank you." Lan Ying was also full of smiles, and she bowed to Yang Chen. This was not Lan Ying's exaggeration. She knew the power of the heavenly tribulation. If it wasn't for Yang Chen's 10th water true essence and transformation secret art, this time, it might be a disaster, so Lan Ying immediately returned the courtesy. "Give me my demon power crystal." Floating to Yang Chen's side, Lan Ying reached out and asked Yang Chen for the demon power crystal. Yang Chen did not dare to neglect, and hurriedly took out the blue bead from the Qiankuan bag, and handed it over. Lan Ning took the bead and sent out her demon power. Suddenly, the bead emitted a strong light. In just a moment, the bead became smaller, but the demon power above it seemed to be purer. With this, I don't think there will be any blind guy who dares to provoke you on the sea, Lan Ning said as she handed back the blue bead. Yang Chun completely believed in this sentence. After the demon power crystal that was condensed by a master who had passed the wind tribulation and was about to ascend, and the monsters in the sea dared to provoke him again, it was purely looking for their own death. Not to mention the sea, even if he returned to Yang Chen's original territory, not many people would have this courage. If you want to go to the demon continent, it's best not to expose your identity as a Tao sect disciple. Ascension was imminent, and Lan Ying's words were also a bit more persuasive. The demons there don't care what your origin is. If you meet a Tao sect disciple, they will only kill you, there will be nothing else. Thank you, Senior. Yang Chun thanked her again, and seeing that Lan Ying's body was already glowing, he said again, Congratulations, Senior. In the surrounding sky, a violent spiritual power fluctuation came, and Lan Ying's body had become more and more illusory, and slowly disappeared in front of Yang Chun. A tall pillar of light rose from the bottom of the sea where the two of them were and shot straight into the sky. With the pillar of light as the center, a huge ripple of spiritual energy spread out in all directions like a wave. Soon, all living beings within 1,000,000 kilometers would be able to sense it. Yang Chun didn't know how to describe his trip to the sea. On the surface, it seemed that Yang Chun was very embarrassed, and it was difficult for him to escape. But now, Yang Chun really tasted the taste of bitterness. Luo Yuan, who chased him, whether he was a master of the Deshang stage or a person from an aristocratic family, has now become the meal of Ing. He was dead. The powerful blue ring octopus Lan Ing, with the help, with Yang Chen's help, of the Lan, and Lan of the Chun, of the Ing. Yang Ing, of Tian, as this was, of Ing of Chun of, was. After ascending to the spiritual world, there were a few acquaintances. The benefits were by no means imaginable by the people of the mortal world. Other things were not to be said, just Lan Ying's monster power crystal, coupled with Yang Chen's beast-controlling secret art, could definitely allow Yang Chen to communicate with the vast majority of the monsters on an equal footing. A guy who could help the monsters to ascend, even if the monsters hated the people in the Tao sects, they would not hate him, right? Luo Yuan's Qinquan bag was already in the hands of Yang Chen. Before Lan Ing was there, Yang Chen was embarrassed to look for it. Now that Lan Ing had ascended, there would be no monsters around for the time being who dared to disturb them in a short time. He just wanted to see if there was anything that Yang Chen wanted. Yang Chen was most concerned about the third fire true secret art. He didn't think that there would be any clues, but Luo Yuan's pursuit made him have doubts. In that secret plane, apart from the third fire true essence, there was nothing else that could make a guy in the late Deshang stage care so much about it. Of course, the focus of the search was also the jade slip and other things that recorded the cultivation method. What surprised Yang Chen was that there were only a dozen jade slips in Luo Yuan's Qinquan bag. After Yang Chen explored one by one with his spiritual awareness, he could not help but be disappointed. Of these jade slips, a few recorded pill recipes, 2 recorded some refining materials and techniques, and the rest seemed to be Luo Yuan's cultivation method. Among them, there was no third fire true secret art that Yang Chen wanted. Could it be that what Luo Yuan was looking for was not the third fire true essence? How was this possible? The dry flame true fire was not worth it for a master in the late Deshang stage to risk falling out with the Blue Cloud sect to do this kind of thing, right? But there was no third fire true secret art cultivation method in the Qinquan bag in front of him. Perhaps Luo Yuan had already memorized the cultivation method of the third fire true secret art and destroyed the recording material? This was very possible, but Luo Yuan could wait for a small sect that had been destroyed for tens of thousands of years. It must have been passed down from his ancestors. The possibility of this kind of thing being destroyed by Luo Yuan was too low. In any case, Yang Chen wanted to find the third fire true essence, but he could not find it. Under resentment, Yang Chen could only give up. However, as a master of the Deshang stage, there were still a lot of good things in the Qianquan bag. Without the third fire true essence, these things also made Yang Chen's eyes light up. The flying sword that could cut off Lan Yan's wrist in half was impressively among them. It was already the life source flying sword. When Luo Yuan was caught unconscious by Lan Yan, the flying sword automatically flew back to Luo Yuan's Qianquan bag, but now it was cheap to Yang Chen. A powerful third fire flying sword, with good material and exquisite refining, made Yang Chen amazed. This was the highest grade of flying sword that Yang Chen had ever seen in the mortal world. Even the 7x7 of the 49 flying swords in the Dome Hall could not be compared with this one. By Yang Chen's standards, this flying sword could be applied to the third fire flying sword in the Great Yin and Yang 5 elements flying sword that Yang Chen needed, as long as Yang Chen refined it on the basis of this flying sword. However, Yang Chen would not do that. Yang Chen's third fire flying sword was the bright ray sword refined by his master. The bright ray sword was of great significance to Yang Chen, and Yang Chen would never easily replace it. Even if this ice and fire flying sword was destroyed, and the materials of this flying sword were used to supplement and improve the bright ray sword, Yang Chen would never give up the bright ray sword. Of course, this was Yang Chen's plan after seeing this flying sword. If Luo Yuan was alive and found that his most proud life source flying sword had become a perfect material for a low-level flying sword, it was not known how much blood he would spit out. Yang Chen was looking for Luo Yuan's Qianquan bag here, and the palace master of Chunyang Palace was making a decision that left no way out at all. Chunyang Palace had found out that Luo Yuan was a master of a family with a long history, but this did not dispel the anger of the Chunyang Palace's top management. If he dared to chase Yang Chen of Chunyang Palace, he must be prepared to bear the anger of Chunyang Palace. Luo family, exterminate. The palace master announced this decision decisively. Even if Luo Yuan came back one day, Chunyang Palace would let Luo Yuan know that there was no price to pay for chasing the disciples of Chunyang Palace. Chapter 521. Yang Chen has turned over Luo Yuan's Qianquan bag. In addition to some advanced materials, there were only some spirit stones left. Just from the things inside the Qianquan bag, it could be seen that this guy was the kind of person who wholeheartedly cultivated without any distractions, and was also a person with a very firm will. Otherwise, he would not have been able to wait near that small sect for who knows how many years, and also followed Yang Chen for more than 5 years and millions of miles. Originally, Yang Chen still regretted that he couldn't find the third fire true secret art, but after a while, Yang Chen adjusted. No matter how many secret arts there were, it was not as pleasant as being able to live. As long as people are still alive, there will always be a chance to find it. Being able to pick it up and put it down was the correct mentality of cultivation. Otherwise, if you cling to a certain kind of foreign object, you will drill yourself into a dead end. To put it bluntly, this was the case with Luo Yuan. When he determined in his heart that only something could make his cultivation break through, in fact, he artificially put a shackle on himself. There should have been many solutions, but he was limited to one direction by himself, and the final road would only get narrower and narrower. Yang Chen, who had the experience of cultivation in his previous life, would never let himself fall into the limitations of this kind of cultivation. After resting for a while at the place where Lan Ying ascended, Yang Chen began to decide whether he should return the same way or go to the demon continent. He had not been to the demon continent in his previous life, but Yang Chen still heard some major events from some of the guys who had ascended. Now, there was really no major event in the demon continent in the near future, and the closest one would happen in hundreds of years. Yang Chun intended to go to the demon continent again to hone his skills, but after weighing it, he gave up this plan for the time being. First, his own cultivation base was not enough to wander in the demon continent. Second, he had been chased for so long, his master would definitely be anxious. It was better to go back and let his master feel at ease. Finding the right direction, Yang Chun summoned the shuttle and still rushed in the direction of the fastest speed. On this road, it would take at least 5 years to reach the land, and Yang Chun did not intend to waste it. The 10th water true essence collected before was given to Lan Yin. On the way, he must use the sea-pouring jasper cup to collect some more for his own cultivation. Furthermore, he had been on the run for his life for the past 5 years and hadn't been able to improve his cultivation. It was a good opportunity for him to cultivate regularly on his way back. Presumably, after this pursuit and returning to cultivate, his cultivation would be completely consolidated. After returning, he would be able to concentrate on cultivation and attack the peak of foundation establishment or even core formation. With Lan Ying's monster power crystal, Yang Chun could sit back and relax in the sea. However, since there was a sea-pouring jasper cup, Yang Chun directly put away the demon power crystal. Anyway, other demon beasts couldn't find it with their divine senses, so there was no need to show off the demonic power crystal condensed by the ascended expert. If he really encountered a powerful fellow who harbored evil intentions, he might even try to snatch it away. That would not be good. Along the way, Yang Chun received enough 10th water true essence and no longer paid attention to the things in the ocean. After setting the direction, Yang Chun sat in the shuttle and cultivated regularly. After the cultivation, he read the jade slips he got, which was very enriching. Time flies, and 5 years passed in a flash. In front of Yang Chun's eyes, he had already seen the land appearing in the distant horizon. For a full 10 years, Yang Chun had been in the sea for a full 10 years, and finally returned to the original world. Back on land, Yang Chun did not stop and rushed directly to Chunyang Palace. It was estimated that his master was already worried, and he wanted to let her know for the first time that he was still safe and sound. Yang Chun. Everyone in Chunyang Palace, when they saw Yang Chun for the first time, they all rubbed their eyes to confirm that they were not dazzled, and then they would cry out in surprise. Being chased by a guy in the late Dasheng stage, everyone thought that Yang Chun would never come back. Unexpectedly, after more than 10 years, Yang Chun unexpectedly appeared in front of them again. Yang Chun didn't care to say anything more to the people in the sect who met him, and directly rushed to Gao Yu's small courtyard in one breath. He hadn't seen his master for more than 10 years, and he didn't know how his master was now. Far away, Yang Chun felt the aura of his master. After the aftermath of the wind tribulation swept, although the scope of Yang Chun's spiritual awareness exploration has not become larger, the sensitivity has increased rapidly. It was only a very subtle aura before, but now it was as bright as a torch in the dark. Master! Yang Chun's voice directly rushed into the ears of Gao Yu, who was in retreat, making her have a very unreal feeling. Since knowing that Yang Chun was chased by Luo Yuan in the late Dasheng stage, Gao Yu's heart has been hanging in midair and has never been put down. It has been like this until now. Until the day more than 5 years ago, the master of the palace angrily issued an order to destroy the Luo family. Gao Yu had never had a moment where she wanted to kill someone so badly. Her anger soared to the sky, making her the first person to kill into the Luo family. All the people of the Luo family in front of her were enemies that Gao Yu hated to the bone, targets that she had to kill. On the day of the massacre in the Luo family, Gao Yu's performance even made many people who were familiar with her in the sect feel afraid. Gao Yu, who used to be a little bit hot-tempered, but was still gentle, suddenly became a killing god. When she came out of the Luo family, Gao Yu's whole body was blood-red. After returning, Gao Yu retreated and did not see outsiders. Only she knew that it was a retreat, but she did not have the state of mind to retreat at all. It seemed that she still had a lot of words to say to Yang Chun. There were many things that she wanted to share with Yang Chun, but all this seemed to have become a bubble. Everyone understood that a kid in the foundation stage was chased by a master in the late Dashang stage. What would be the result? If she had known this, she would not have kept a strict guard with Yang Chun. Although Gao Yu and Yang Chen's spiritual awareness double cultivation, she already felt that her heart had been placed on her apprentice, but she has been forcibly suppressing herself and did not show it. If Yang Chun could appear in front of herself again, Gao Yu would definitely tell Yang Chun that no matter what Yang Chun wanted to do, she would not hesitate to agree. "Master, I'm back." Yang Chen's voice once again appeared in Gao Yu's ears. This time Gao Yu heard it clearly. It was real, not a dream. "Yang Chun." Gao Yu didn't even have time to open the door. She directly broke the door and rushed out, standing in front of Yang Chun, looking at Yang Chun with a smile on his face in the yard. Tears could no longer be held back and burst out. Chapter 522. "Master, you are thin." Looking at Gao Yu's almost shaky figure, Yang Chun said distressingly. "Yang Chun." Gao Yu finally confirmed that standing in front of herself was really Yang Chun, not a dream, not an illusion, but the real Yang Chun. She didn't know why, her heart suddenly relaxed. The person seemed to float high into the sky. Her legs could no longer support her own weight and softly fell down. "Master!" Yang Chun was shocked, hurriedly stepped forward and supported his soft master. With both hands, he picked up his master's waist, rushed into the room, and carefully put her on the bed. Because of the surprise, Gao Yu had fainted. Yang Chun carefully diagnosed and found that it was just blood attacking the heart. It was not a big problem, and he was relieved. Sitting on the edge of the bed, Yang Chun directly peeled a profound yang fruit and gently sent it into Gao Yu's sandalwood mouth. Then, a large cup of 4C's mysterious coral liquid was carefully poured into Gao Yu's mouth. Master must be anxious. Just let her take this opportunity to sleep, and also save Yang Chun from explaining the origin of the 4C's mysterious coral liquid everywhere. Listening to his master's breathing has slowly become normal. Yang Chun took a long breath and was completely relieved. At this time, Yang Chun had time to carefully look at his master's pretty face. Compared with 10 years ago, Gao Yu was much thinner. People who practice will not easily change their appearance. Gao Yu was as thin as ordinary people, obviously the result of mental and physical exhaustion. Looking at his master's face that finally calmed down, Yang Chun suddenly felt a burst of tenderness in his heart, and he couldn't help but put his hand on his master's pretty face. The figure of his master's maid had already appeared outside the door, and Yang Chun turned his head and smiled at the maid. The maid just heard the movement and came over. Suddenly, she saw Yang Chun greeting her. Suddenly, it was like she was in a paralysis spell. She stood in the same place, stunned, and could no longer move. Shaking his head, Yang Chun smiled bitterly. It seemed that many people couldn't believe his sudden return, which also showed how right it was for him to come back in time. If he went to the demon continent and came back, he didn't know how haggard his master would look. The maid reacted after a while and repeatedly apologized to Yang Chun, but the joy on her face also showed that she was happy to see Yang Chun return safely. Yang Chun told her to protect her master, and he got up and went to visit the head of the palace. In these 10 years, it was enough for the head of the palace to be anxious. Almost the same reaction as most people who saw Yang Chun. When he saw Yang Chun appear in front of him, the first reaction of the palace master was to rub his eyes. Couldn't be helped, this thing was too amazing. Being chased by a master of the late Dashang stage, not to mention Yang Chun, who was a junior in the foundation stage, even if it was a master in the Yuanying stage, it was not necessarily possible to come back alive. Who would have thought that 10 years later, Yang Chun would actually be standing in front of them, alive and well? How could they not be surprised? "Greetings, palace master." Yang Chun was still as polite as ever, so that the head of the palace quickly woke up from that state of horror. After all, he was a master of the Yuanying stage. His mind cultivation base was also high, and his speed of acceptance was also fast. The head of the palace didn't even bother to say anything. He stepped forward, pulled Yang Chen, and began to look up and down. After a long time, he believed that he was not mistaken, but he still couldn't help but ask, "Are you okay?" "This disciple is fine." Yang Chen replied with a smile, "Thank you, Palace Master, for your concern." "It's okay. It's okay." The head of the palace finally reacted, and his face was full of smiles. "Come, invite all the elders to come to the council hall to discuss." Soon, the elders rushed to the council hall, and when they saw Yang Chen's reaction, it was the same. All of them were shocked and then smiled. The return of Yang Chen made the elders simply don't know how to describe their mood. In particular, Yang Chen's master ancestor Wang Yong was so happy that he almost jumped up. There was no demeanor of a master of the peak Yuanying stage. "Yang Chen, what about Luo Yuan who chased you?" After everyone sat down, the head of the palace immediately asked the question that everyone wanted to know. Although the Chunyang palace destroyed the Luo family, they never relaxed their guard for a day. Luo Yuan was a master of the late Desheng stage. Once he returned and found that his family was destroyed, he would never give up. Chunyang Palace even had the intention of using the resources of the 100,000 mountains to hire a master in the alliance again. "The disciple is back." Yang Chen smiled and replied lightly, "He naturally will never come back." Boom! Although everyone already had this premonition, when they really heard the news from Yang Chen's mouth, they were still shocked, and no one could believe it. It was not that everyone did not trust their own disciples, but the gap between the two was too big, so big that people simply could not believe that there would be any miracles. When Elder Wu Xiong was in the Immortal Falling Abyss, he did not even have to show up, but he could control a fellow in the foundation stage to use his own flying sword to kill the owner of the flying sword. This huge difference in level could not be made up by luck. Luo Yuan was very unlucky. He encountered a disciple in the foundation stage whose spiritual awareness cultivation base was in the middle Yuanying stage. Not to mention controlling Yang Chen's flying sword, it was already a blessing to be able to track Yang Chen's location. Even the spiritual awareness attack had no effect on Yang Chen. His own flying sword could not keep up with the speed of the shuttle. It could be said that he was killed by Yang Chen. Next, it was naturally Yang Chen who told the elders about his escape, especially how he used Lan Yen to kill Luo Yuan. Everyone listened to it and looked at each other. Was this also possible? He couldn't beat him, so he fled to the territory of a master. The two sides naturally had a conflict, and then the person who chased him was killed. What kind of heaven-defying existence could do this? Not to mention that Yang Chen also witnessed Lan Yan's ascension and got the demon power crystal given by Lan Yan after the tribulation. These things all happened to Yang Chen. Yang Chen's disciple, the elders were shocked and speechless. When Yang Chen took out the demon power crystal of Lan Yan, it made a group of people even more move, especially the old tree demon Gui Shanyu, who belonged to the same monster bloodline. This demon power crystal could directly let him see many things. At this point, when the Chunyang Palace was willing to offend a master of the late Desheng stage for Yang Chen alone and tried their best to destroy the Luo family, it was impossible to say that Yang Chen was not moved. "Please forgive this disciple for not reporting before." After Yang Chen saluted the elders again, he slowly said, before leaving, "This disciple has explored an immortal's cave left by a sect that was destroyed 10,000 years ago with Master. Compared with Meiqing Mountain, it is more suitable to be the mountain gate of my Chunyang Palace." Chapter 523. What? Everyone has not fully recovered from the shock of Yang Chen's plan to kill a master of the late Desheng stage. They were shocked by the news of Yang Chen and could no longer sit still. "You tell me in detail." The head of the palace waved his hand and stopped the noise of the elders and directly ordered Yang Chen. "Yes, Palace Master." Yang Chen did not neglect and began to speak. Now all the senior members of Chunyang Palace seemed to have been twisted into a rope, and in the matter of Yang Chen being hunted down and retaliating against the Luo family, all the elders voted in favor. With this alone, Yang Chen had to be grateful. Now the elders, including Gui Shanyu, no one could stop the master of the late Deshang stage. This was clearly that everyone put the safety of Yang Chen above everything else, even at the risk of exterminating the sect to avenge Yang Chen. Another point was that Chunyang Palace and several other sect alliances have been in control of the 100,000 mountains for more than 10 years. In the past 10 years, several sects have completely controlled this place, and the income has gradually stabilized, so they can free their hands and be busy with other things. The Blue Vault Mountain Immortal's Cave was originally prepared by Yang Chen for the sect. He originally thought that it would take a while to report to the sect. Now that the time was basically ripe, Yang Chen would tell everything. Naturally, the excuse was that he had seen the record in an ancient book, so he found the place. As for Gao Yu, Gong Sunling, Shi Kuei and Xiesha, it was completely curious at the time. As for the fact that several people have not reported to the sect so far, it was also Yang Chen's intention. No one would ask why everyone did not report at the time. Yang Chen has already said very clearly that he was afraid that the sect would be too busy. What everyone was interested in was the layout of the cave. When Yang Chen explained that there were levels, each level had a corresponding safety line, abundant spiritual energy, numerous rooms, and a large number of demon beasts, as well as the fact that it could be used as a training ground for disciples, the eyes of the elders all shone with a golden light. They couldn't wait to set off right now and carefully explore the cave. After controlling Shirwan Mountains behind the scenes, Chunyang Palace began to enter a stage of rapid development, and its resources and manpower began to be gradually enriched. The higher-ups were also worried that Meiqing Mountain would soon be unable to accommodate more and more disciples. They didn't expect a mountain that was more than 10 times larger than the current Meiqing Mountain to be delivered to them out of thin air. The elders could no longer use the word shock to describe what they were feeling. Other than shock, there was also a layer of shame. So many masters of the nascent soul stage and the Deshang stage could not do it, but a disciple of the foundation stage had already considered it and even completed it. How could this make a group of big shots endure it? Yang Chen, you tell the truth. An elder who had not talked to Yang Chen before, Gao Shiyan, suddenly asked, "What is your cultivation base now?" Hearing this question from Elder Gao, everyone seemed to be puzzled. All of them looked at Yang Chen curiously, waiting for Yang Chen's answer. This disciple is now in the 8th level of the foundation stage, Elder. Yang Chen honestly said his highest cultivation base, the 4th fire spirit power level. However, Yang Chen told the truth, and several elders had an expression of disbelief. It was no wonder that the 8th level of the foundation stage wanted to escape from the pursuit of a master of the late Deshang stage. It was simply impossible. This disciple has had some other adventures, so there is a very fast magic weapon in my hand. The shuttle has appeared many times, and Yang Chen did not have to hide it. He directly summoned the shuttle and asked the elders to take a closer look. In the meeting hall of the Chunyang Palace, Yang Chen did not have to worry about the elders coveting his magic weapon. Elder Gao first took the shuttle, and after a careful exploration with his spiritual awareness, he handed it over to another elder. The shuttle turned a big circle in the hands of the elders, and then returned to the hands of Yang Chen. At this time, no one did not believe in Yang Chen's words. As soon as their spiritual awareness explored the shuttle, everyone knew that if they were allowed to use it, the speed of the shuttle would be unbelievable. Such a fast-flying tool, it was understandable that a master could not catch up with the flying sword. If every foundation establishment disciple was as capable as you, then us old bones wouldn't have to do anything but cultivate. The one who spoke was Elder Gao Shiyan, who had asked the question at the beginning. His words were met with unanimous approval from the other elders. The elders are overpraising me. After Yang Chen's modest statement, he threw out another piece of news. This disciple has sorted out some of the jade slips found in the Blue Vault Mountain Immortal's cave and marked them according to their categories. As he said this, Yang Chen took out a large pile of jade slips from the Qianquan bag. This is the inheritance of the sect from 10,000 years ago. This disciple does not dare to monopolize it. I ask the palace master and the elders to deal with it. Looking at the tens of thousands of jade slips that suddenly appeared on the floor of the meeting hall, the high-level members of the Chunyang Palace fell into shock again. To get the complete inheritance of an ancient sect, this was simply a legendary thing, and it was a good thing to open the protagonist mode and add a super plugin. This could actually fall on the head of the Chunyang Palace? Most of these are cultivation methods. Yang Chen briefly introduced. However, there are still some small differences between the theory of cultivation 10,000 years ago and now. Only the elders can screen those that can be cultivated directly and those that need to be slightly modified before they can be cultivated. Although Yang Chen could also do such a thing, first, Yang Chen did not want to pull himself up too high. Second, Yang Chen did not want to get caught up in this tedious work. The sect had the Yanwu Hall, which was specialized in this, so it was suitable for them. In addition, there are a large number of jade slips about alchemy, refining, and array. This disciple is still sorting them out. Yang Chen did not take it out at once, but kept apart. After the disciple has sorted it out, it will be handed over to the sect. There are a lot of miscellaneous books. It is estimated that it will take a while. Yang Chen did not restrain himself in front of the elders, nor was he in fear and trepidation. These miscellaneous books, this disciple has to study them slowly. It may take a little longer. It was discovered by Yang Chen, and these things originally belonged to Yang Chen. Even if Yang Chen did not take them out, everyone could not say a word. Now that Yang Chen gave them all out, it was another unexpected surprise for the high-level members. However, when Yang Chen came back, he immediately made a series of surprises, and even several knowledgeable high-level members were a little unaccustomed. Chapter 524. A mountain gate suitable for the development of Chunyang Palace for at least thousands of years in the future, and the inheritance of a martial arts sect. These 2 points alone had already made the head of the palace and the elders speechless. Only Wang Yong, with a proud and happy face, no one was happier than him. The achievements of the grand disciple were the glory of the master ancestor. Now among all the elders, was there a more glorious master ancestor than the old man? Great credit, no need to ask. Wang Yong waved his hand and directly set the tone for the actions of his grand disciple. If this was not a great credit, what was it? Even if others were dissatisfied, there was no reason. I will record one of your great contributions, No. 2. The head of the palace was also unequivocal and directly gave an affirmative answer. As for the sect's hidden danger of being destroyed because of Yang Chen's revenge on Luoyuan, Yang Chen had already returned, and the other party was dead. What was the matter? However, great credit was great credit, but everyone couldn't think of how to reward Yang Chen. Speaking of it, it was also a happy trouble. Other sects were headaches about their disciples not making progress, but Chunyang Palace was having a headache about how to reward the disciples who had made great contributions. I don't think there is a need to reward anything. Elder Gao Shiyan, who had just spoken, suddenly interjected. What do you mean? Wang Yong stared at him on the spot. His own grand disciple had made a great contribution, but he did not reward him. How could this be justified? Simply cancel all the rewards for Yang Chen. Gao Shiyan ignored Wang Yong's attitude and said, This kind of great contribution, since it can't be rewarded, simply don't reward him. In the future, if Yang Chen wants to use any resources of the sect, he can speak at any time. As long as the sect can come up with it, he will take it. If you want to use someone, you can talk to them in advance and use them directly. Why worry about the reward? I think so. When Wang Yong heard this, he was the first to agree. Gao Shiyan's words clearly promoted Yang Chen to the elder level of treatment in Chunyang Palace, and only the elders and the head of the palace could enjoy such treatment. It was probably because Yang Chen's current cultivation was too low and his seniority was relatively low, so he didn't make it clear. What do you think? Palace Master Zhang Jiao did not say much, but turned his head and asked the other elders for their opinion. The other elders also nodded slightly at this moment. No one had any objections. It couldn't be helped. The things that this disciple of his did were truly indescribable. Thinking about how Liang Xiaoming had betrayed him in the past, Yang Chen's loyalty was further enhanced. That settled. Palace Master Zhang Jiao saw that everyone had no opinion and directly made a decision. In fact, he was also troubled by Yang Chen's reward. Since Yang Chen had made such a great contribution, he should give him a corresponding status. Originally, Palace Master Zhang Jiao thought so, but he couldn't take the initiative to propose it. Elder Gao's proposal was in line with the intention of Palace Master Zhang Jiao. This time, it was Yang Chen's turn to be surprised. Of course, he knew what this so-called reward meant, but at this moment, all the elders supported him, and Yang Chen couldn't even say a word of refusal. Yang Chen, your safety is related to the development of my Chunyang Palace sect. Palace Master Zhang Jiao was not polite to Yang Chen, and directly admonished, in the future, if there is such a thing, be careful. If there is a problem, go directly back to Chunyang Palace. The sect will make a decision for you. You don't have to escape to the dangerous depths of the sea. Why did Yang Chen escape to the sea? To put it bluntly, he was afraid of bringing disaster to Chunyang Palace. This point was clear to Yang Chen, and the high-level members of Chunyang Palace were also clear. Yang Chen would rather risk his own death than bring danger to the sect. No one could blame such a disciple. Yes, Palace Master. The sect's love, Yang Chen certainly would not refuse. However, at the same time, Yang Chen also suddenly thought of a problem. He had a shuttle, and he could escape when necessary. It seemed that these high-level members of Chunyang Palace should also have more security protection. Palace Master, elders. Yang Chen cupped his hands at the several seniors present, and said solemnly, this disciple has some other gains that I want to give to the elders. With that, Yang Chen waved his hand, and a huge praying mantis corpse appeared in front of everyone. The corpse was preserved abnormally intact, and even the monster core was completely preserved, untouched. If it was not motionless, and there was no aura of a living creature, maybe everyone would think that this was a living monster. This place is small, I can't put it in. Yang Chen said apologetically. This disciple found more than a dozen corpses of the peak Yuanying stage praying mantis in that secret plane, and they were well preserved. If each of the elders refines a puppet, there will be some guarantee of safety, and at the same time, it can also improve the combat power of Chunyang Palace. From the beginning, when Yang Chen took out the praying mantis corpse, everyone had fallen into a sluggish state. Where was the demeanor of a senior master? Yang Chen's surprise was simply endless. It could really be said that one wave had not yet subsided, and another wave had risen. After the death of the Deshang stage master, he was happy. Suddenly there was a complete mountain gate, and then there was the inheritance of a martial arts sect. Before everyone could fully digest and absorb it, Kacha, more than a dozen well-preserved corpses of the peak Yuanying stage appeared in front of them, asking everyone to refine a puppet to ensure safety. Even from the time they joined Chunyang Palace to the time they grew up to be elders, these elders present had never been so shocked. If they had to say anything, it was also brought by Yang Chen. Heaven-seizing pill, questioning inner heart pill, 100,000 mountains, which one of them could be separated from Yang Chen. That was the corpse of the peak Yuanying stage monster. The monster core was intact, and the body was complete. It was simply carefully taken care of after a natural death to achieve such a level. Of course, the fact was exactly the same. In that secret plane, the only room without dust was the room where the corpses of these praying mantis were stored. If everyone refined a puppet of the peak Yuanying stage, it would simply double their combat effectiveness in an instant, and it was even more than enough. If they really did this, the high-level combat effectiveness of Chunyang Palace would directly double. What kind of scene would that be? Now there was only one thought left in everyone's mind, that was Yang Chen still a human? Which of these things could be done by a disciple in the foundation stage? Or to put it another way, in this world, was there anything that Yang Chen couldn't do? Yang Chen, if you say one day that you killed a great principal golden immortal, maybe I will believe it. Wang Yong looked at the corpse of the praying mantis and couldn't help but say with emotion, "That's not for sure?" On Yang Chen's face, there was suddenly an inscrutable smile. Chapter 525. No one would take Yang Chen's joke seriously. However, Yang Chen said that it was necessary for every elder to refine a puppet. Even as long as it was a master of the Yuanying stage, they could refine one. Originally, there were 8 Yuanying stage ancestors in Chunyang Palace. Later, Lin Yunfeng died, but Zhu Chuntao was added, so there were still 8. At this time, the head of the palace was not polite to Yang Chen, and directly asked for 8 praying mantis corpses. As for the cultivation method of refining the puppet, Chunyang Palace was not short of these things. Although Shi Kuei and Xie Shao were also masters of the Yuanying stage, their cultivation was different from that of the Dao sex. It could only be said that Yang Chen could think of a way. In the blink of an eye, countless things were sent out, but Yang Chen did not feel the slightest distress. This was what Chunyang Palace looked like in his mind, and with the decision of the head of the palace and the elders, the things of Chunyang Palace and Yang Chen's things were not much different. As long as it was useful, he could use it. This kind of treatment, even several elders could not enjoy it, all because their merits were not enough. But Yang Chen was young, but he had already surpassed these elders. What was rare was that no one would have any dissatisfaction with this. After all, Yang Chen's things were really taken out, but no one could erase them. Refining a puppet was not too difficult for a master of the Yuanying stage. Although the corpse of the praying mantis used to be at the peak Yuanying stage, after all, the monster core was still there, which made it easier. In a short period of time, it could double the overall combat effectiveness of the Chunyang Palace's Yuanying stage, which was more important than anything, and even more important than the urgency to go to the Blue Vault Mountain Immortal's cave immediately. Of course, there was one thing that Yang Chen would definitely insist on, at least until his master woke up: Yang Chen would not move. Everyone must have known this, and no one took the initiative to mention this matter. In the end, it was Yang Chen who took the initiative to talk about the situation of the Immortal's cave. Elders, please make some preparations. When the time comes, you can directly collect the cave mansion. You can move it back or put it somewhere else. It's better than staying overseas. As he spoke, Yang Chen handed out a jade slip. It records the collection method of the Blue Vault Mountain Immortal's cave. For Yang Chen, it was still very difficult for him to collect this cave. His cultivation was not enough to collect such a big cave. However, with the combined strength of several elders of Chunyang Palace, they were able to steadily collect the cave residents. In this way, the Blue Vault Mountain Immortal's cave will truly be under the control of Chunyang Palace, and Chunyang Palace's disciples will be able to enter the Immortal's cave more easily. Of course, the disciples who were able to enter the abode were definitely loyal disciples who had passed through numerous tests. Everyone was overjoyed when they heard that they could still retrieve the overseas cave abode and move it back. However, because of this, improving everyone's strength became even more important, and refining puppets had become a top priority. Once someone made trouble in the process of collecting it, it would immediately come in handy. The head of the palace and several elders united with several Yuanying stage hall masters and hall masters, and directly retreated to refine the puppets with all their strength. Yang Chen returned to his master's small courtyard. As soon as he entered the courtyard, he saw Gong Sunling in white. As soon as she saw Yang Chen, Gong Sunling's eyes shone brightly. She gritted her teeth and stood up. Suddenly, she couldn't help it anymore. She rushed over and threw herself into Yang Chen's arms. Yang Chen was caught off guard. When Gong Sunling's jade body entered his arms, he felt that it was wrong, but he couldn't push Gong Sunling away at this time. He could only let Gong Sunling hold his neck and cling tightly to his body. Before Yang Chen felt embarrassed, Yang Chen had already heard the cry of Gong Sunling. This time, Yang Chen was more and more at a loss. He didn't know what to do. He could only stand in place and listen to Gong Sunling's cry. After a long time, he remembered to put his hands gently around Gong Sunling's slender waist and gently patted on Gong Sunling's back a few times. "I'm fine." Yang Chen's voice finally stopped Gong Sunling's crying. However, Gong Sunling still held Yang Chen and refused to let go, as if she was afraid that he would disappear from her eyes in the next moment. Yang Chen had to comfort for a long time before he let Gong Sunling let go of him. However, Gong Sunling, who put down her arm, was already blushing at the moment, and she was too shy to look up at Yang Chen. After not seeing for more than 10 years, Gong Sunling had also lost a lot of weight, but her cultivation base had been greatly improved. It must have been a lot of hard work on her daily life. In this situation, even if Yang Chen was stupid, he could see some clues. The beauty was heavy, but Yang Chen did not dare to promise anything, but at this moment, how could Yang Chen say these words? On the contrary, Gong Sunling's haggard appearance also made Yang Chen think of something. He directly took out a cup of 4C's mysterious coral liquid and sent it to Gong Sunling. "Senior sister, drink it." "What is this?" Gong Sunling was really attracted by the purple 4C's mysterious coral liquid and asked in a low voice. "Don't worry about it, it's good to drink it." Yang Chen sent the jade cup with the 4C's mysterious coral liquid to Gong Sunling's cherry mouth, and did not say much, just let Gong Sunling drink it. Gong Sunling did not insist any more on this hand of Yang Chen. She slowly drank this large cup of 4C's mysterious coral liquid. "Senior sister, in the future there will be a big thing for me. After you sleep, you don't have to worry about anything." Before Gong Sunling just drank it and fell asleep, Yang Chen said this to Gong Sunling. Listening to Yang Chen's words, Gong Sunling closed her eyes with a smile on her face. Yang Chen, as if he was treating his master, picked her up by the waist and settled Gong Sunling in the guest room next to him. Master and senior sister naturally had their servants to take care of them. This time, the two women would sleep for at least 10 days. After Yang Chen told them, he went straight to the Hall of Eccentrics to find Gui Shanyu, Shi Kuei and Xiesha. With the help of the questioning inner heart pill, the old tree demon's body has completely absorbed the Penglai divine wood. Now Gui Shanyu was much stronger than before the loss of his clone. However, his aura became more and more peaceful, and he looked like a master. Lan Yan's demon power crystal, Yang Chen temporarily lent it to Gui Shanyu, letting him study it for a while. Although it was not the same, it belonged to the monster bloodline, and Gui Shanyu could still learn a lot from it. Shi Kuei and Xiesha were even simpler. 2 beheaded praying mantis corpses, 1 for each person. Although the body was decapitated, the monster core was complete and was directly stuffed to the 2 people. The power absorption of the monsters was sometimes easier than that of the Dao sect cultivators. The 2 guys directly took a bite and swallowed the 2 huge praying mantis corpses together with the monster core into their abdomen. As long as it was completely digested for a period of time, they could easily obtain the power contained in the monster core. Chapter 526. Of course, this method was not unlimited, and it could only be done if the attributes were compatible. Moreover, even if the attributes were compatible, it was impossible to completely absorb the power of the other party's monster core, and there would always be a lot of waste. Fortunately, the praying mantis was also a monster of the earth attribute, and it was the same attribute as Shi Kuei and Xiesha. This was not a big problem. After absorbing the two praying mantis corpses and monster cores, Shi Kuei and Xiesha's cultivation base could increase by a lot. At least they could break through a small level and enter the middle yuanying stage. This has made the two guys very satisfied. In the barren valley, how long would it take to have such a cultivation base? However, this kind of absorption was not completely without flaws. After all, it was not the power of their own cultivation, and it would take a lot of time to fully adapt. At the same time, it would inevitably bring some impurities in the cultivation base. But now that Yang Chen has the 4 C's mysterious coral liquid, he doesn't care about this little defect at all. If it weren't for the fact that the master of the palace and several other yuanying stage masters of the Chunyang Palace were retreating to refine puppets, Yang Chen would directly put the 3 masters of the Hall of Eccentrics into a deep sleep. In short, this trip, almost everyone who had a good relationship with Yang Chen had benefit. Yang Chen also tirelessly turned around. Du Qian, Shang Guanfeng, Wang Yuan, and his original 4 slaves, all gave each a small cup of 4 C's mysterious coral liquid. After watching them take it, he turned back to his master's small courtyard and waited quietly. His master and senior sister have not yet woken up, but there have been a lot of grease and debris on their bodies. Yang Chen did not let the servants disturb the two. He just told them to prepare the things to wash up. While quietly cultivating, Yang Chen waited for his master and senior sister to wake up. Soon, more than 10 days passed in a flash. Gao Yu snorted on the bed and woke up. Originally, she had been blaming herself and regretting, and Gao Yu's mental state was very poor. After this big sleep, she was full of vitality, and the energetic Gao Yu once again appeared in Yang Chen's eyes. "Master, you're awake." The moment she opened her eyes, she saw Yang Chen's smiling face and heard Yang Chen's happy voice. Gao Yu sat up and was about to speak. Suddenly, she found that her body was really dirty. She frowned and hurriedly drove Yang Chen out, and then ordered her servants to prepare the toiletries. These things had already been prepared by Yang Chen. It didn't take long for Gao Yu to wash up. She didn't care too much. After a hurried tidying up, she appeared in front of Yang Chen. Yang Chen had never seen his master like this after a bath. He couldn't help but stare with his eyes wide open. At this moment, Gao Yu's whole body and mind have been filled with happiness. Yang Chen unexpectedly returned to her side safe and sound. Everything before seemed to be no longer a problem. Although Yang Chen's eyes seemed to be a bit rude, Gao Yu was still full of joy, and even gave Yang Chen a slightly coquettish complaining look. In the past, Gao Yu would never make such a look. But now it was completely different. For the first time, Gao Yu discovered that Yang Chen had such an important position in her heart, even more than herself. If it weren't for Yang Chen almost being killed this time, Gao Yu didn't know that it would be like this. But in any case, Gao Yu was never willing to see such a situation happen again. She pulled Yang Chen and carefully looked up and down twice. Gao Yu was convinced that Yang Chen was really safe and sound. Her heart was sour and she almost shed tears again. "How did you come back?" This was what Gao Yu was eager to know. Subsequently, Yang Chen told his experience again. Listening to Yang Chen with the master of the late Deshang stage unexpectedly broke into the unknown sea, and also provoked a monster that was about to cross its tribulation and ascend, Gao Yu was shocked again and again. When she heard the final result, she was relieved. While the two were talking, Gong Sunling also woke up. After that, it was another messy wash-up. No woman wants to appear in front of Yang Chen with a dirty body. Gao Yu also noticed that Gong Sunling's performance was exactly the same as her own. They were all dirty after a big sleep. She immediately understood that there must be some reason for this. However, Gong Sunling was washing and would come out soon. She was not in a hurry to ask Yang Chen. "Since hearing that you were missing, your senior sister Gongsun has been wearing white clothes. Gao Yu suddenly said such a sentence, which made Yang Chen stunned. Fairy Sure of the Green Jade Immortal Island, Fairy Shui of the Blue Cloud Sect. It is said that it is the same. They are all dressed in white, and the two girls are also veiled. Without waiting for Yang Chen to ask what it meant, Gao Yu had already said some of the news she had heard. What does it mean? Yang Chen felt a little bad in his heart, but he still asked. They are keeping your chastity. Gao Yu bowed her head slightly and said with some emotion, white clothes are mourning clothes. This time, Yang Chen thoroughly understood, his mind was blank, and he suddenly didn't know what to say. The three women actually did this, and Shi Shanshan and Sun Qingxue were all veiled. Obviously they did not want others to see their faces. This approach made Yang Chen somewhat moved. Yang Chen, how did you come back? Just when Yang Chen was a little moved, Gong Sunling had already finished washing in a hurry and came over directly to ask a question. Yang Chen could only say his own things again, and Gong Sunling also exclaimed again and again. By the way, Yang Chen, what did you give me to drink? How could I sleep and look like that after waking up? Gao Yu was given the 4 C's mysterious coral liquid by Yang Chen after fainting, but when Gong Sunling was awake, she felt that something was wrong and immediately asked. It's nothing, just some 4 C's mysterious coral liquid. Yang Chen replied lightly. 4 C's mysterious coral liquid? Gao Yu and Gong Sunling were not the kind of inexperienced people like Sun Qingxue. When they heard the name of the 4 C's mysterious coral liquid, they suddenly exclaimed. Gao Yu didn't know, but Gong Sunling was clear. That large glass of 4 C's mysterious coral liquid, which was half a jin, was actually given to her to drink? Such a big cup? Gong Sunling's face had already shown a shocked look. Even Gao Yu could guess from Gong Sunling's expression that she would never drink less than Gong Sunling. Worldly possessions, what is that? Yang Chen looked at the two beautiful faces and the surprised expression on their faces, and his heart suddenly surged with lofty sentiments and ambitions. When master and senior sister want to take a bath with the 4 C's mysterious coral liquid, just come to me. Chapter 527. For Yang Chen's words, the two women had been completely speechless. The precious 4 C's mysterious coral liquid was used for bathing? That was something that could only be done by a prodigal son. Don't believe it? But it was clear that the two had drunk a large cup each. They didn't know how much Gao Yu had, but no one would believe that it was less than Gong Sunling's. In addition to shock, the two women were left sluggish and almost completely unable to accept such a thing. When they thought that they had drunk so much of the 4 C's mysterious coral liquid, the two women couldn't help but be surprised at the same time. After the conditioning of the 4 C's mysterious coral liquid, their future cultivation would definitely surprise them. Although they didn't know how much of the 4 C's mysterious coral liquid Yang Chen had obtained, at this time, the two women also advised Yang Chen to use it carefully. Whether it was a waste or being known by others, it was not a trivial matter. For the Chunyang Palace executives, Yang Chen gave each of them a praying mantis corpse to refine into a puppet. For the people around him, Yang Chen would not be stingy. He took out 2 praying mantis corpses on the spot and told them to put them away and refine them into puppets for self-defense. The two women seemed to have been shocked by a series of shocks. They only knew how to instinctively accept what Yang Chen sent, but they didn't know what to say. Next, Gao Yu and Gong Sunling began to talk about what happened when Yang Chen was absent. Of course, they were all related to Yang Chen. In reality, the Blue Cloud sect felt guilty and gave up 20% of the income of the 100,000 mountains in the next 10 years. Then Shi Shanshan and Sun Qingxue wore veils and mourning clothes for Yang Chen. The most important thing was that after finding out the origin of Luo Yuan, the head of the palace and the elders gritted their teeth and launched an order to exterminate the family. At that time, the masters of the Chunyang Palace came out and the Luo family was completely wiped out, leaving no trace of bloodline. On that day, Gao Yu Gong Sunling was the one who killed the most people and the most ruthless. What surprised Yang Chen was that both Shi Shanshan and Sun Qingxue had taken part in the extermination operation. The two women had also turned into two female fiends. Just the number of people who had died in their hands was no less than 300. The Luo family was also a slightly famous family that had been developing in a remote area. The entire family had more than 2,000 people, but in that battle they were all killed. The move of Chunyang Palace shocked many sects at that time. Especially after hearing the reason for the fight, many of them started to restrain their own sects and disciples in private. Chunyang Palace dared to offend a master of the late Deshang stage at the risk of extermination, which showed their determination to love their disciples. Unless it was absolutely necessary, it was best not to offend him easily. Yang Chen still didn't know this. When he heard these details, he was even more moved. Suddenly, he felt a little sorry for Shi Shanshan. He had given Sun Qingxue, his master and senior apprentice sister, the 4 C's mysterious coral liquid, but Shi Shanshan did not have it. After the matter of the Immortal's cave, Yang Chen decided to go to the Green Jade Immortal Island in person and give her a share of the 4 C's mysterious coral liquid. After saying these things, the two women coincidentally asked about Yang Chen's future plans. Looking at the cautious posture of the two women, it seemed that they were very concerned about Yang Chen's plan. After the head of the palace and the elders have collected the Blue Vault Mountain Immortal's cave, I plan to go to the Green Jade Immortal Island and the Blue Cloud sect to explain things. Yang Chen thought about it and replied, "Then I will come back and concentrate on my cultivation." This time I went out and found out that my cultivation is still too poor. Unconsciously, Yang Chen called himself a disciple when facing Gao Yu, and now it has been changed to him. But no one cared, it seemed that it was so natural. This crisis did make Yang Chen feel that his cultivation base was insufficient. Not to mention anything else, just encountering a master of the late Deshang stage, there was no other way to protect himself except to run away. Once the other party came up regardless of the situation, Yang Chen had no chance at all. Although the Golden Bell's defensive power was strong, it also needed the support of Yang Chen's own cultivation base. Relying on passive protection alone, it was still impossible to resist the attack of a master of the Deshang stage. Although the shuttle was fast, if the enemy came up to kill him, there was no way to think about it. There was also a key point. After Yang Chen learned about the location of the Demon Continent from Lan Yen, with his cultivation base at the time, he couldn't go to the place where there were many strong people, which was the biggest stimulation. Even if he had the cultivation base of the Jedon stage, Yang Chen would dare to go to the Demon Continent. Unfortunately, he was still in the 4th Fire Attribute Foundation Stage 8th layer, the 3rd Fire Foundation Stage 7th layer, and the others were still in the Middle Foundation stage. These days, his cultivation base had been consolidated enough. Next, Yang Chen would go all out to attack the Jedon stage. The same is true for you, even if there is a Yuanying stage puppet to protect you, at least after the Jedon stage, your safety will have a certain guarantee. For the two women, Yang Chen did not have too many requirements for the time being, but the level of the Jedon stage should not be a problem for them. Plus a peak Yuanying stage puppet, as long as they did not provoke any masters of the Deshang stage, there would not be much problem in safety. When the two women listened to Yang Chen's words, they looked at each other and said nothing, they just nodded silently. Gong Sunling next to him thought of something and suddenly asked, "Don't you refine a puppet?" "I have a shuttle." Yang Chen smiled and said, "If the other party can't kill me in one move, I can escape. If the other party can kill me in one move, then the result will be the same without a puppet." Of course, Yang Chen had a puppet, and it was a living puppet without a mind, but it was not convenient to tell the two women, so he could only find such an excuse. Gong Sunling's words also made Yang Chen have a plan in his heart. Since he had the appearance pill, he would let Wan Qian and her apprentices all take it and change their appearance, so that even if others saw them, they would not be able to recognize their true faces. This was more secure than wearing a veil. Okay, I will go into seclusion with you. Gao Yu had no objection to Yang Chen's decision, but she casually said her plan. Me too. Gong Sunling suddenly became bold on the side, and said the same thing that she would not say on ordinary days. Seeing that Yang Chen and Gao Yu's eyes were looking over, Gong Sunling, although feeling shy, still raised her chest and raised her head. I will not come out until I reach the Jedon stage. On Gao Yu's face there was a strange smile. She reached out and hugged Gong Sunling, smiled and promised, okay, let's do it, I will not come out until I reach the Jedon stage. Yang Chen next to her was completely excluded from the decision-making layer. Master, senior sister, you refine the puppet first, I will go and explain some things, and then I will go and collect the Immortal's cave with the head of the palace. Yang Chen naturally would not say a word at this time. He just nodded and stood up, wait for me to come back. Chapter 528. Du Qian, Shanghai Feng, Wang Yuan and the 4 former slaves all drank the 4 seas mysterious coral liquid and should have woken up at this time. This time, Yang Chen did not visit them one by one, but let people invite them to his small courtyard. After drinking the 4 seas mysterious coral liquid, everyone has discovered the changes in their bodies, and everyone is more grateful to Yang Chen. Not enough, it seems that except for Shanghai Feng and He Lian, others are not very clear about what they are drinking. Yang Chen, what are we drinking? The relationship between Du Qian and Yang Chen was established when he entered the sect. He was also Yang Chen's senior brother. There was not so much politeness with Yang Chen. When he saw Yang Chen, he asked directly. A little bit of 4 seas mysterious coral liquid. Yang Chen replied very lightly. Despite guessing the answer, Shangguan Feng and He Lian still exclaimed out loud. Others were not knowledgeable in this regard and did not feel anything. When they heard the exclamation of the two, they felt that something was wrong and hurriedly asked the two what it was. After hearing He Lian's answer, the group of people fell directly into a dumbfounded state. This kind of precious thing, whether it is used for alchemy or refining, it is the best product that makes people fight for it, and it was actually drunk by them? These have some small benefits for the body, and it will also help everyone's future cultivation. Yang Chen's face still had that kind of understatement smile, as if he had just done something trivial. I don't have many friends. Of course, I have to think of everyone if there are any benefits. These few people in front of him, when dealing with the Luo family, were the most powerful ones. Yang Chen certainly would not care about them. Even if Yang Chen said so, everyone felt that this gift was too heavy. They all wanted to thank him, but they were stopped by Yang Chen. You can seem to seek justice for me. What are some worldly possessions? Yang Chen waved his hand directly. No matter what, everyone should improve their cultivation first. Senior brother Du, are you going to condense your core soon? Du Qian nodded. I didn't have much confidence at first, but now with you, there is definitely no problem. In a simple meeting, Yang Chen did not reveal much, just told everyone to practice more in the near future. Everyone also understood something, and no one asked much. After saying goodbye to Yang Chen, they returned to their own residences and began to retreat. Next, Yang Chen went to the current Fierce Yang Hall Master Qiaoming. The Fierce Yang Hall was now declining. Qiaoming did not support Yang Chen in many things, but he also gave a lot of care. There are benefits, Yang Chen did not forget to give them to his hall master. Qiaoming also obtained the corpse of a big praying mantis, which made Qiaoming pleasantly surprised. In particular, Yang Chen directly gave Qiaoming 2 thunder pomegranates, so that one day when Qiaoming formed his nascent soul and crossed the thunder tribulation, if he was not sure, he could use it to absorb the thunder tribulation, which made Qiaoming overjoyed. In particular, Qiaoming, who was not very good among the hall masters, almost had an indescribable self-confidence in an instant. Xiao Ming, who was not very good among the hall masters, almost had an indescribable self-confidence in an instant. The confidence of the foundation was a precursor to the rapid progress of the cultivation base. 15 praying mantis corpses, the Yuanying stage masters refined 8, Shi Kuei and Xie Sha ate 2, Gao Yu and Gong Sunling took 2, Xiao Ming had 1, and there were 2 left. Su Qingxin, the hall master of the Foreign Affairs Hall, was also a person who supported Yang Chen. Yang Chen also treated him equally and went directly to Hall Master Su, and then sent a praying mantis corpse and 2 thunder pomegranate. While Su Qingxin was overjoyed, he was naturally grateful to Yang Chen, and at the same time, his confidence was doubled. The remaining praying mantis corpse, Yang Chen thought about it and decided to keep it first. When he went to see Shi Shanshan, he would see if she wanted it. The movements of the palace master and several elders were very fast, and it only took a month for the process of refining the puppet to be completed. After all, the Yuanying stage masters were Yuanying stage masters. In many cases, they had natural advantages over the foundation stage and the Jeton stage. Palace master, this disciple forgot to report one thing. Before summoning Yang Chen and everyone to prepare for departure, Yang Chen seemed to be very embarrassed and said to the palace master. The head of the palace had already glared at them, and several other elders wanted to laugh but held back. It was Yang Chen's current performance that was too embarrassing. This disciple accidentally got some distiller's yeast and made some fine wine, called Jade Dragon wine. Yang Chen took out hundreds of wine jars from the Qiankuan bag and placed them on the ground in the hall. On the way to being chased by Luo Yuan, Yang Chen did not dare to concentrate on his cultivation, but sitting in the shuttle, there was nothing else to do. He naturally used the brewing utensils and raw materials bought from the Blue Cloud sect, using the vein of Spirit Spring, and began to brew the auxiliary wine. Anyway, the process of brewing wine was not afraid of being interrupted by Luo Yuan. It was not comparable to cultivation. Yang Chen brewed tens of thousands of pounds along the way. Up to now, it was almost 7 or 8 years old, and the worst was 5 or 6 years old. If it was drunk alone, it was definitely not enough, but it was more than enough to blend the distiller's yeast. Next, Yang Chen also said his agreement with Zhu Xian. When he said it, he was still thinking that Zhu Xian only had a few hundred pounds of Jade Dragon wine. In more than 10 years, it was estimated that it had already been consumed. If he was addicted, he really didn't know how to solve it. The news of the Wine Immortal House, the palace master and a group of elders were of course clear. However, the timely news of the Wine Immortal House was not cheap, and it was not a small price to pay. Now that they heard that Yang Chen only used some wine to reach an agreement with Zhu Xian, several high-level officials couldn't help but be surprised and mixed with an expression of not knowing whether to laugh or cry. Of course, there were benefits to cooperating with the Wine Immortal House, there was no doubt about this. This matter, for everyone, was also a small surprise. It was just that everyone had some feelings that they didn't know what to say about Yang Chen's good luck. Casually getting something by chance, it was not a sect immortal's cave, it was a secret key, or it was a peerless wine that made Zhu Xian salivate. What else could people say? Of course, no one was jealous. The key to the secret plane, Zhu Xian had been holding it for many years, and did not know that it was the key to the secret plane. When it came to the hands of Yang Chen, he immediately recognized it. This was not luck, this was a super insight. Yang Chen's reputation for reading a lot of books had been thoroughly established, and almost everything could be explained by this. Of course, this opportunity would not be wasted by the palace master Zhang Jiao, and he immediately found the Foreign Affairs Hall Master Su Qingxin to be responsible for this matter. Chunyang Palace, because of the return of Yang Chen, was a scene of prosperity. Several high-level Yuanying stage masters were ready to go to sea to collect the Blue Vault Mountain Immortal's Cave. Chapter 529. To be on the safe side, This trip even took the body of the old tree demon to ensure that when collecting the Blue Vault Mountain Immortal's cave, it would not be disturbed and obstructed. If necessary, Chunyang Palace did not mind showing the determination of Chunyang Palace again. Everyone took Yang Chen's shuttle. They knew that Yang Chen's shuttle was fast, but no one had ever seen this kind of flying magic weapon that was faster than everyone's flying sword. Fortunately, Yang Chen's shuttle was big enough to accommodate so many people. When the sea was close to the Blue Vault Mountain, the 8 Yuanying stage masters plus the 8 puppet mantises of the peak Yuanying stage directly caused all the monsters above the Jedon stage within 1,000 miles of the sea to suffer. The masters of Chunyang Palace did not discriminate at all. As long as the monsters above the level appeared in this range, they would all be regarded as enemies that might obstruct the collection of the Immortal's cave, and all of them would be killed without exception. At the same time, it was also a process for the elders and their respective monsters to adapt to each other. After the surrounding monsters were eliminated, everyone gathered on the island where the Blue Vault Mountain Immortal's cave was located, waiting for Yang Chen to open the Immortal's cave. Although they had heard Yang Chen talk about the situation of the Blue Vault Mountain Immortal's cave, when everyone actually entered the Blue Vault Mountain Immortal's cave, they were completely shocked by this complete grotto heaven. The unbelievably abundant spiritual power, the large space, the strict classification, the surrounding monsters, the clear safety zone, the fully functional buildings of the sect, everything showed that this was a perfect sect Immortal's cave. The scale alone was more than 10 times larger than the current scope of Meiqing Mountain, and it was still a separate area. If added up, it was enough to have dozens of Meiqing mountains in the line of defense. With such a grotto heaven, even if the scale of Chunyang Palace was now expanded by 10 times, it was still more than enough. The powerful protective array around the Immortal's cave was several times stronger than the mountain guarding array of Meiqing Mountain. The spiritual power expenditure of the protective array alone was enough to match the spiritual veins of the entire Meiqing Mountain. The two sides were not at the same level at all. Even if there was another explosion of dozens of Gui water in thunders like Liang Xiaoming, it would never be able to damage the cave at all. In order to test it out, before entering, Yang Chen even had Gui Shanyu attack the cave with all his might. However, the cave did not change at all. It was clear how strong the defenses were. This time, with the presence of the old tree demon, someone finally entered the gate of the Deshang stage. What surprised everyone was that a large number of jade slips were also found in the palace of the Deshang stage master. These jade slips were directly handed over to Yang Chen. After he read them first, they were classified into categories and placed in the Sutras depository of Chunyang Palace. Some important books, such as the Yellow Turban Strongman Body Refining Technique, were even included in the secret pavilion. After a simple visit to the Immortal's cave, in addition to Yang Chen and the old tree demon, led by the head of the palace, everyone began to work together to collect the Blue Vault Mountain Immortal's cave according to the method recorded on Yang Chen's jade slip. The Immortal's cave was a magic weapon of the grotto heaven level. As long as there was a strong strength and the correct method, it could be collected. But even so, the process of collection lasted for a full 3 months before it was finally completed. It was just that in the process of this trip of collection, when all the 8 Yuanying stage masters were completed, they all noticed the improvement of their cultivation base. A magic weapon of the grotto heaven level was collected and distributed among the 8 Yuanying stage masters. If it was given to one person, it might be possible to directly promote Zhu Chuntao, who had the lowest cultivation base and the shortest time to the Yuanying stage, to the peak Yuanying stage. This improvement alone had collectively raised the top level of the Chunyang Palace to a small level. Wang Yong, who had the strongest cultivation base, had even reached the limit of the peak. As long as the time was right, he could rush into the Deshang stage. The group of people once again took Yang Chen's shuttle back to Meiqing Mountain, but this time, in addition to the masters of the Yuanying stage in the Chunyang Palace and the old tree demon, the disciples of the lower generation, that is, Yang Chen and Gao Yugong Sunling, who had been to the Blue Vault Mountain Immortal's cave, knew. Although there was no exclusive cultivation place for the time being, for Gao Yu and Gong Sunling, it seemed that Yang Chen was enough. Moreover, they could still ask the head of the palace to allow them to enter the Immortal's cave to cultivate at any time. Yang Chen also agreed with the head of the palace that all the magic weapon fragments found in the Immortal's cave would be handed over to him. Those were the most suitable food sources for Shao Tian at present. The existence of the Immortal's cave was the top secret of the Chunyang Palace for the time being, and the entrance was in the hands of the head of the palace. If something happened to the head of the palace, Wang Yong would be responsible for controlling it. Next, the Chunyang Palace would establish a set of perfect rules to screen the loyalty of the disciples. Only those who were extremely loyal would have the opportunity to enter the Immortal's cave to cultivate. Of course, it would be claimed that this was a branch of the Chunyang Palace secret pavilion, and other sect members would never see the flaws. After all, the secret pavilion of a sect was the top secret. Except for the successive headmasters, other people could not know the whole picture. When he returned to Meiqing Mountain, Su Qingxin had already contacted the Drunken Immortal House. What surprised him was that when he just told the Drunken Immortal House in the market that the Chunyang Palace had prepared the Jade Dragon wine, less than half a month later, Senior Jiu Xian rushed to Meiqing Mountain. He didn't know where he came from. The Drunken Immortal almost didn't want to provide the news of another kind of fire that Yang Chen wanted, the evil spirit fire, and directly exchanged it for 400 pounds of Jade Dragon wine, and then drank it on the spot. The intoxicating taste was simply unbelievable. This was an ancestor of the Yuanying stage. The establishment of the cooperation was very smooth. After drinking the Jade Dragon wine brewed by Yang Chen himself, Senior Jiu Xian could no longer tolerate the inferior wine he had drunk before. He was tied to the pirate ship by Yang Chen. The scene made Su Qingxin, the head of the Foreign Affairs Hall, feel sad and pitiful. The cooperation between the Drunken Immortal House and other sect families had never been so cheap, so that Su Qingxin, who knew the rules of the Drunken Immortal House, couldn't even believe that the conditions of cooperation were so simple. Using the news in exchange for the Jade Dragon wine? If he hadn't dealt with Jiu Xian before, he might have suspected that this Jiu Xian was a fake. Finally, Su Qingxin knew the depth and did not take the initiative to try the Jade Dragon wine. Otherwise, if he was addicted to it like Jiu Xian, it would be a big trouble. At this point, for the time being, there was not much that Yang Chen could do for the Chunyang Palace. Yang Chen also reported his recent plans to the head of the palace. After visiting Fairy Shi and Fairy Shui, he retreated with his master and senior sister. Chapter 530. The attitude of the Chunyang Palace's top management towards Yang Chen was that as long as it did not involve Yang Chen's safety, it would be approved without asking the reason. Hearing that Yang Chen was just visiting the Green Jade Immortal Island and the Blue Cloud sect, the head of the palace didn't say anything and waved his hand, "Bring Shi Kuei and Xiesha. Go early and come back early." It was so refreshing that it made people speechless. When Yang Chen returned from overseas, it was necessary to explain the misunderstanding to the Blue Cloud sect, so as not to let the Blue Cloud sect have any unnecessary associations. Therefore, Yang Chen's first stop was the Blue Cloud sect. Because the previous acquisition of the Immortal's Cave was confidential, the news of Yang Chen's return was strictly blocked inside the Chunyang Palace. After the elimination of Liang Xiaoming and a group of traitors, in the recent period, the sect's control of the disciples had reached a new height. Almost all the disciples who had seen Yang Chen in the sect were told to block the news of Yang Chen's return. The Blue Cloud sect naturally could not know too much detailed news. When Yang Chen appeared at the Blue Cloud sect's mountain gate and reported his name, the new reception disciples who had not seen Yang Chen had an expression of seeing a ghost. It was under the reminder of Yang Chen that they remembered to report to the sect. Yang Chen was a VIP of the Blue Cloud sect, so naturally he did not have to wait for the notification to go in. Yang Chen was not polite and went straight to the residence of Sun Qingxue. When Sun Qingxue received the news, Yang Chen had already appeared in front of her. "Big brother Yang." The instant she saw Yang Chen, Sun Qingxue was instantly unable to control her emotions. Without even thinking, she threw herself into Yang Chen's arms and burst into tears, just like Gong's Sunling at that time. Sun Qingxue, who wore a veil and white mourning clothes, had also made a name for herself in recent years. Her ruthlessness and mercilessness towards the men who harassed her earned her the nickname Snow Fairy. The little girl must have felt that she was a burden to Yang Chen at that time, so she put in a lot of effort and went all out to kill, which was why she was so strong. However, the situation at that time had nothing to do with Sun Qingxue. It was just that the little girl thought that the sect could not stop the late Deshang stage Luo Yuan for Yang Chen, so the little girl blamed herself. In fact, at that time, Sun Qingxue was put in a coma by Yang Chen. How could she let Yang Chen down? The practice of covering her face with mourning clothes made Yang Chen particularly moved. Therefore, Yang Chen also took the initiative to gently embrace Sun Qingxue's waist and softly comforted her. After a long time, Sun Qingxue calmed down. After Sun Qingxue stabilized her emotions, she was stunned to find that her master and the sect master had already come to her and were smiling at her and Yang Chen not far away. The little girl could no longer suppress her shyness and turned and fled back to the house. Sect Master Lu of the Blue Cloud sect received the news and rushed over. First, he was shocked how Yang Chen escaped from Luo Yuan. Second, he wanted to completely eliminate the misunderstanding between the Blue Cloud sect and Yang Chen and Chunyang Palace. At that time, Yang Chen just came over quickly and put Sun Qingxue down without saying anything. The people of the Blue Cloud sect did not know what happened. Luo Yuan broke the 2 mountain protection formations, only leaving a name. When he saw Yang Chen escape, he immediately chased after him. His speed was unparalleled. Even if the Blue Cloud sect wanted to do something, with the speed of several masters present at that time, they could not catch up. It was not that the Blue Cloud sect did not do anything. Yang Chen certainly knew the situation at that time. In fact, if it were not for Sun Qingxue, Yang Chen would not have led Luo Yuan to the Blue Cloud sect. His original intention at that time was the safety of Sun Qingxue, not to lead a strong enemy to the Blue Cloud sect to kill him. Moreover, in the position of the Blue Cloud sect, there was no obligation to stand up for Yang Chen in that situation. After all, he was not a disciple of the sect. Neither side had the idea of taking the opportunity to make trouble, so naturally the communication was very harmonious. Moreover, the Blue Cloud sect's practice of compensating Chunyang Palace afterwards was also very appropriate. It fully expressed their apology for not being able to hold Yang Chen in the situation at that time. Soon, Yang Chen reached an understanding with the Blue Cloud sect on behalf of Chunyang Palace. Next, it was naturally Sun Qingxue who asked Yang Chen about the situation at the time. Sect Master Lu and Elder Hua Wanting were also curious. How did a younger generation disciple of the foundation stage escape from the pursuit of a master of the late Deshang stage? In their minds, it seemed that there was only one possibility, that was, Yang Chen surrendered, and Luo Yuan was magnanimous. That's all, there was nothing else. When Yang Chen told his own situation at the time, everyone was stunned. Yang Chen actually relied on a flying magic weapon to lead a master of the late Deshang stage to a monster who was about to cross his tribulation, causing the 2 sides to fight, and then he quietly escaped. Such a move was simply incredible. Of course, Yang Chen did not say too much about Lanning. He just said that after the 2 sides fought, he did not pay attention to him, a small shrimp, and escaped smoothly. But even so, it was enough to cause shock to sect Master Lu and Elder Hua. The foundation stage disciples of their sect were not as heaven-defying as Yang Chen. Since Yang Chen returned safely, Sun Qingxue also removed her veil, and no longer appeared in white clothes. Yang Chen did not hide his plans in front of Sect Master Lu and Elder Hua. He was only waiting to go back to retreat and attack the Jedon stage. Big Brother Yang, when you reach the Jedon stage, I will also achieve the Jedon stage. After more than 10 years of tempering, coupled with the effect of the 4 C's mysterious coral liquid, Sun Qingxue's cultivation base had grown amazingly. Hearing that Yang Chen was going to retreat, she immediately expressed her willingness to follow Yang Chen's cultivation base. Sect Master Lu and Elder Hua watched Yang Chen, and Sun Qingxue's cultivation base was the same, and even Elder Hua said that during this time, he would also vigorously guide Sun Qingxue. This meeting completely eliminated the possible cracks between Chunyang Palace and Blue Cloud Sect, and both sides were happy. The sect was happy, Yang Chen was happy, and Sun Qingxue was even happier. There was no more perfect result than this. Let's go and see Sister Shanshan. When Yang Chen was about to leave, it was unexpected that Sun Qingxue actually persuaded Yang Chen to go and see Sir Shanshan. After Sister Shanshan heard about your affairs, she was very sad. On the same day, she covered her face with a veil for you. It's the first time I've seen Sister Shanshan cry. Sure, Shanshan actually cried for him? In Yang Chen's heart there were all kinds of feelings, and he didn't know how to express his feelings. However, he had planned to go and see Sir Shanshan. This trip would not be less. Whether it was Sun Qingxue or Sir Shanshan, or even Gong Sunling, Yang Chen found that he couldn't refuse them, which made Yang Chen very confused and didn't know what to do. In his mind, the figure brewing tea on the shuttle suddenly became clear, and it seemed that he couldn't get rid of it,